For example, a student who has scored like 380 marks, but they went to a school in Kiambu County, don't end up going to an extra county or national school. They go to a sub-county school because the positions in extra county and national schools are being taken by students who scored much less from other counties in the name of quota system, equity, and all those things. And Kagombe is like, no. We built our schools. Where were you when we were building schools in Kiambu?
Okay.
So we've invited him to come and tell us exactly what's your beef, boss. Nini mbaya?
What's wrong?
Nini? Mshahara unataka? Nini? So he'll be joining us at 7 a.m. for that conversation.
That
was sudden.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Keep it here for that. It's 6:15. Are you online? If you are, please let's do like that. Let us know where you're tuned in from, and then after we take a look at the weather forecast, we will be acknowledging your presence shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Oh my God, look at the curtains. Oh, and the shoes. Wow, my dream fridge. Oh.
What is it? My friend, you don't have money. Let's go.
Yes. I know what to do. The interest on my fixed deposit has matured to Songe Mbele na Kingdom Bank.
What is it about Kingdom Bank? Everyone is surprising me about this Songa Mbele na Kingdom Bank move.
Songa Mbele na Kingdom Bank. Kingdom Bank is now offering mid to long-term fixed saving with higher interest rates. Earn up to 10% interest from as little as 50,000 Kenya shillings on our fixed and core deposits. Enjoy a variety of our great services including savings and junior savings accounts for your kids. Get return on your fixed investments today at Kingdom Bank. Songa Mbele na Kingdom Bank. Shop now for all you want. Talk to us on 0709 881300 for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Kingdom Bank is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya. I'm sure you're wondering how you can spend less and get more as we approach the Easter period. Well, the Standard Digital e-paper has a solution for you, and it's the half-price Easter special. For all news and entertainment buffs who look for a credible source of information and content they love, well, this one's for you. We're offering you a chance to pay half for the full story and all the extras. Instead of 6,199 Kenya shillings, pay 3,099 Kenya shillings and stay on top of what is happening across the globe. At your own convenience, for less. This incredible offer is valid till 30th April 2023. Subscribe now. Visit epaper.standardmedia.co.ke and enjoy the half-price Easter special. Get the full story all year long.
Just how you like it.
Only with Standard Digital e-paper. Standard Digital e-paper. Tap tap. Just how you like it.
17 degrees and cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. Highs of 22 and lows of 15. At 16, it's cloudy in Nakuru. Highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 23 as well. In a cloudy Nyeri at 16. At 12, it's partly cloudy in Eldoret. Highs of 24 and lows of 12. 26 and mostly clear for this morning in Mombasa. Highs of 31, and we'll see highs of 31 as well in a clear Malindi at 27. It's 19 degrees and partly cloudy in Kisumu. Highs of 27, and Kakamega we'll see partly cloudy conditions through most of the morning, going to highs of 26 and lows of 17. It's raining in Kampala this morning at 19, highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 30 in a mostly clear Dar es Salaam at 25. At 13, it's cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 33 in a clear Lagos at 27. At 24, Kinshasa is cloudy, highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 20 in a mostly sunny Beijing going into Tuesday afternoon. At 6 degrees, Paris is cloudy, going to highs of 12, and we'll see highs of 11 in a mostly cloudy London at 4. It's 12 degrees and partly cloudy Monday night in New York. Coming into Tuesday, we'll see highs of 16 and lows of 7.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Who's online on Facebook and YouTube and everywhere.
And everybody everywhere. Okay. There are many. Good morning, Spice FM. The Duke of Nandi. Hello. Is tuned in from Kisumu. Okay. Right. Victor Odhiambo says, Hamjambo, looking forward to awesome conversations. Good morning to you, Victor. Good morning, my people. Tuned in from Gigiri in this morning. Okay, that's Mochama James. And he says, kindly bring in my senator to explain how they allow the Senate to mess up with the counties. Okay, and he says, happy birthday to Abele. Abele is Abele. All right. And then King Solomon
Abele is Abele.
Right, he said Ebere.
Okay.
King Solomon is asking what is not happening on YouTube.
Iko bwana.
Iko nini is not happening?
Iko live stream.
Iko tu hapo. Don't know what's the problem.
Yoi mimi na watch pale.
Sidio. Good morning out of Malindi. That's where Abednego Mwamburi is. Paul Mugo says, good morning. Deep conversations loading. Indeed. Here we go. Chris Amolo says, good morning. It's a beautiful chilly morning from Kisumu. Now, when people in Kisumu say it is chilly, it's like 26 degrees. So, just so you know.
Wamechill too.
Wamechill at 26.
Okay.
At a Kisumu. Good morning, Situation Room. Ndu. Remind Eric. Chebarbar is not in Elgeyo Marakwet. Okay. It's in Nandi County. On your way to Kapsabet. Do you see it?
Okay.
You can see it now.
Okay.
Sounds.
Eko pale. And how far is it from Kapsowar?
How what?
Okay.
There's another long in Kiswahili. I've just seen good morning Apo Katikati from Ukunda. It's Carlos and
Soma too.
People give me stress. I'm already sweating.
Soma bana.
Hiyo methali tangu niwe nikisoma sijawahi taka kuijua mpaka mwisho hapo penye mumachia pia pia
mimi
pia mimi nikisema hufika hapo hufikia hapo.
Methali gani hiyo? What's that? He's responding to a conversation. Okay.
Sijui bana. Okay, sawa. John Chebi is tuning from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. And good morning, Isaac is tuned in from Eldoret. CT.
Yes.
Chariot says, among the sad things happening are the starving to death of Kenyans in Kilifi in the name of Mackenzie's religion. Indeed. And he says he doesn't understand. Very few do. Mopay is waiting for the conversation. We'll get into it. Robert Ibogo says, good morning from Mombasa. Tuned in from Ntondo in Kitale. YouTube not live yet. What are you saying? It's there, brother.
It's now live.
Who? I can even see Gashori says, good morning. He's tuned in from Manchester in the UK. Good morning. Hot. Hey, chairs. Oh, I see what you've done there, King David. Azaria says, good morning. Joel B is tuned in as well. Good morning from the Hot News Altar is what Azaria was trying to say. Mwangi is tuning in from Melbourne. And Ongata Rongai is where Alex Vundi is. You make my afternoon informative. Well, let's just start with the morning.
Who's this?
Mwagi.
Where is he?
Mwagi.
He's in Melbourne.
He's in Melbourne.
Oh,
okay,
clearly.
so it's actually your afternoon. I'm sorry. My bad. It is your afternoon indeed. Tupac Shakur City. You know who Tupac is?
He was some singer.
He was a rapper. Yes, you're right. Now he's reincarnated and he lives in Anchorage, Alaska. And he's asking if you're considered a youth. No?
Not by any stretch of imagination, no.
Got it.
No.
Tupac. Okay. Peter Moyman says he's tuning from Nyeri and says, good morning. Good morning. We see you guys. Everybody trickling in slowly, but surely. Owen is tuned in. Owen Bosiri, Edna's relative, is in New York.
Okay. Uncle Michael is also saying tuned in from the Arsenal group.
Oh, shh. Eddie Odo, it's been a minute. Where have you been? He says, good morning from Koru, the land of sweetness. Is it true, City?
You have to take the man at his word.
He's the one who's there.
Madoka Kibet, HSC. You know who he is? Says, good morning. It's a beautiful morning from Nairobi, Kenya. Looking forward for brilliant conversations. Alan is also tuning from South Africa. Everybody's just jumping inside.
Karibu kila mutu.
Hey, karibuni sana.
Karibuni. City. We are still in that country of ivory.
We only started yesterday, so we're going to be here for quite a while.
Alrighty.
Friday will be our last day here.
Nizazawa.
Okay. Too much discussion means a quarrel.
Too much discussion means a quarrel. That is a very dictatorial proverb.
Absolutely.
Too much discussion. Nimesema.
Unataka niseme mara ngapi?
Unabishana na mimi?
Umesikia?
Unabishana na mimi?
Mimi.
Hey.
The next question that normally follows out of that is, unajua mimi ni nani?
Too much discussion means a quarrel.
Yo.
Okay. Higher. I wonder they don't discuss. The Ivorians? What? Higher. Let's look at the headlines.
Okay. Everywhere. Before we get to the everywhere story, let's start with the Council of Governors. And Waiguru and her folks have said they're not doing again. 14 days or we shut it down. You guys, stop playing with us.
What do they mean shut it down?
They stop operations at the counties.
Can they really?
Wait and see now. And Waiguru was tough talking mama yesterday and she said, you know what, man? We're not doing this anymore. The money that you were supposed to have given us, not what we're not even talking about presently or futurely. We're talking about until now. The money you're supposed to have given us, give it to us within 14 days or we're going to show you who's the boss. Got it? We're going to shut this thing down.
Okay. And then?
So now you'll see. I'll give you the details later. Cult massacre is what's on the front page of the Standard. Shakahola horror. Deaths jump to 73. Questions abound after more than 70 bodies of cult victims were dug up in graves on land said to belong to Pastor Paul Mackenzie. Is there a recruiting agency? Why didn't the intelligence community smell a rat in spite of too many telltale signs? Did local police look the other way as gullible faithful were lured to their deaths? Is it time to regulate religious activities? Those are the questions being asked on the front page of the Standard. Nation also is making some points here. Police exhumed another 26 bodies from multiple graves in Pastor Paul Mackenzie's Shakahola village farm in Kilifi yesterday, taking the toll to 65, with 8 other church members who had been rescued succumbing in hospital, taking that number to 73. But the search for bodies is not yet over, amid reports that the controversial pastor had warned of consequences. That story is carried on 2, 3, 4, and 5. Quite a number of stories around all of this in the Standard as well. The Nation also talks about the 14-day notice that the counties have given, rather governors have given, over cash crisis. There's a heartbreak for hustlers, apparently. Yeah. So Ruto has walked back on his NHIF promise. He announced that the national government will not match contributions to the National Health Insurance Fund for low-income earners, and he had previously said that they would. But now they're not going to do that anymore.
Okay.
So it's a problem.
Is there a reason given as to why?
Yeah, there's reason given as to why, and I'll share that
so
with
we'll
you as we talk
later.
about it. Indeed.
Okay. The Business Daily. Front page. Top headline. Debt payments surpass state running expenses. Debt repayments for the first 9 months of the current financial year overtook the national government's recurrent spending on items like civil servant salaries for the first time, underlining the burden of mounting state borrowing. Kenya spent 815 billion shillings on debt repayments between July last year and March this year. This is an increase from 740.69 in the same period a year earlier, marking the first time in Kenya's history that debt costs have surpassed the recurrent expenditure that stood at 814 billion over the period. Where? Higher. Treasury seeks to tax crypto exchange serving over 4 million Kenyans. There's an exchange in Kenya. Kenya will start taxing cryptocurrency exchanges for commissions that they receive from the over 4 million people who are dealing in digital currencies in the country. There are 4 million people who are dealing with crypto in Kenya.
What?
Are you
When
among
you say
them?
dealing?
Wewe uko na crypto.
Kadhaa.
Kuna kadhaa. Kuna sijui Binance, kuna Bitcoin, kuna the other. City where kuna gani?
I do not have any of those things.
You don't have crypto?
Man, I have difficulties just managing and think about the Kenya shilling.
Sasa unataka kuingiza ile ambayo haiko na iko. It's somewhere up there.
Him is dealing with gold.
Ile the one you touch.
Gold.
Somebody, okay, so that coin, can I go and collect and walk with it? No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it's not a physical coin.
And you can't actually put it in your pocket.
Man.
So you convert it into coin by going out of these exchanges, okay?
No.
So you have a crypto, you go to this exchange, you convert that into you get a shilling or your dollar.
No.
Okay, and that's where now the treasury is saying those ones who are giving you crypto to shilling or shilling to crypto, how? Wallet tax. The new regulations guiding the payments of the digital service tax require platforms that facilitate the buying and selling of cryptocurrencies and other digital assets to pay a 1.5% duty. Highest ticker headlines. Taxman demands 3 billion shillings from a company in card scam syndicate saga. Card scam syndicate saga. Where? That sounds criminal. The Kenya Revenue Authority is demanding 3 billion from KiwiPay Kenya Limited, a payment solutions firm whose funds were frozen last year over claims of card fraud syndicates. Haya. City?
Yes, we are looking at the star on the right-hand corner in teal green. Becky and Betty, missing sisters linked to Good News Church in Shakahola. This is still on page 7.
Okay.
Then the headlines. There's a picture of this person, Pastor Paul Mackenzie, the back of one of those Land Cruiser vehicles that the police use. Then there's a picture of the police, people in military fatigue, health workers, forensic workers at grave sites collecting bodies. Then 40 lower down, floods wreak havoc in Mandera and Kisumu, displace over 2,000 people.
2,000?
Yes.
What?
Yep. Then there's a picture here of residents wading through water in Kolua. This is in Kisumu County. What? By the way, adults are wading through water which is near waist level.
What?
So this house is waterlogged. Just look at the picture. You do not need to. It's completely. There is nothing there.
Sacre bleu.
Yes. And if you think that this is, again, that sacre of the blue, then you need to look at the picture that was taken in Mandera. It is not any better.
Wow.
Yeah. So the preparedness that we talked about yet again until we were hoarse, here we are seeing the manifestations of it. Someone will say the rain was more than they expected. Really, I don't think so. The Met told us what was going to happen. Yeah, and we ignored what the Met told us.
Maybe even less than expected would be the word.
Yeah, it's always unexpected. It's always unexpected. Even when you're expecting rain, it's still unexpected. And when it's expected, it's more than we expected. So it's always kicking the can down the road. Always. What happens the day we run out of cans to kick?
We'll kick each other.
Right.
Let's take that break. It's 28 minutes to 7. The Kenya's biggest conversation takes this opportunity to take a look at traffic and update you what's happening on the roads. It's an opportunity.
Take the opportunity.
So let's do that. Back shortly to look at the headlines in detail.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If I look at the Premier League table, Manchester City is on top. Arsenal, number 2 in the table. Absolutely. How did Brentford get to number 3 in the Premier League table? They beat us like Burukenge.
Sugar and spice. What's your love language, French?
My love language is I want to be left alone.
What can't you compromise on?
Quality time and acts of service. Words of affirmation tutapata hata kanisani.
We do this
11 to 3 p.m. Monday to Friday. DJ Absolute and
Yolanda Mulwa.
On 94.4 Spice
it's
FM,
6:30.
Nairobi.
Looking at some action in certain parts of the city. You're going to come off the thicker superhighway with some traffic. Always got to look at that as a point of reference when coming into the city. Where are you this morning? Just past that outer ring junction that comes and then into town. You'll see some traffic that's starting way beyond the Garden City Mall. And on the northern bypass, folks are taking no prisoners. It's traffic through and through, out then towards the Kiambu Road junction. So we're going to see that for some time. On Wakiwe, it's not too bad. It's inching along into the city, and we're likely to see more movement as we get closer to 8 o'clock. It's also starting to see the rumblings of traffic on the eastern bypass going out towards the AP Trading College junction, and there'll be some traffic there for some time as you're getting out towards Utawala. Manyanja Road seems to be busy. It's connecting with Outer Ring. North Airport Road, not so bad right now. It's flowing freely and smoothly. It will pick up, this we know. All right, so get prepared. If you've not left yet, now might be a good time to do so. If you already have, you already got where you're going. And for folks who might leave later, you will be stuck in a little bit of traffic, but it'll be manageable. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so the stories today are just putting names and faces to the people who actually disappeared, or those that have lost their loved ones in this Shakahola massacre, right? City. The headline that you read for us in the Star was talking about two sisters.
Yes, these two sisters lived in Mombasa. One of them worked for Qatar Airlines. Something changed about her. First signs of change were she cut off all her hair. Then whenever her relatives, friends would greet her, she would respond monosyllabically, yes, no. And then she just disappeared. And her sister, they just disappeared. And one of them, Becky, disappeared with her daughter. So there's a friend of theirs by the name, this lady's friend, called Katha. She's the one who was constantly in touch, and it is her communication that's reported in this story. She also knew who the husband was and told the husband. She had left a note for the husband. And I'm going to read it. She says, the husband's called Abbas. Hello, Abbas. I'm so sorry to have left, but maybe this was our destiny. Thanks for everything you have done to us.
Hold on.
For us.
I'm sorry. This is her husband she's speaking to?
Wrote a letter.
Okay. All right.
Okay. The things you have done for us to this time while we were still together. Take care of yourself. I hope we meet again someday. I'm really emotional writing this, but I know I loved you with every bit of me. It is really hard for me, but I have to go. That's what she said in the letter.
She wrote this to her husband.
Yes. So the husband heard she had gone to Malindi, went to Malindi, is still in Malindi even as we speak now, looking for his wife and his daughter. You see, when you hear of disappearances and you hear of corpses, it's like you're discussing inanimate objects.
Yep.
When you take the individuals who are lost and look at their story, who they are, where they come from, their family members, then you understand the weight of this tragedy. Because the worst thing about many of cults is that the very thing they promise, in most cases, will end your life.
Yep.
Whatever it is that they say, it ends your life. And in the most tragic way now, the worst thing that follows from that is now the wreckage they leave in their wake.
Okay. Do you know, something struck me yesterday when I was looking at the pictures that were coming out. And I said, you know what? People have been missing for months. People have reported their family members missing.
Yes.
Some of it we've blamed on extrajudicial killings. Some of it we've blamed on, disappearances. But it is very possible that the folks who've been talking about their missing family members ended up in shallow graves in Shakahola.
Yes, they could have.
Yeah.
If you have 73 bodies.
73 so far.
And they're still going on now. Surely, even when they got to 2, it was alarming. 3, now 10.
Come on.
Then you're at 70. Hey.
This man is in Malindi looking for his wife. She could very possibly be one of the 73.
Yes,
Yep. And the daughter.
wife
And the daughter.
Yeah.
They could very well be one of those.
There's this other story because that is Becky and Betty.
Yes.
One of them worked in Qatar.
Yes, she worked for Qatar Airlines.
So she's the
She
air
was an
hostess.
air hostess, yes.
She was the air hostess whose story has been all
Betty
over.
was the air hostess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jeez, man.
So here's another story then. A family in Taita Taveta County is looking for 7 relatives suspected to have been lured to join Pastor Mackenzie in Shakahola. According to the family, the 7, including 2 women and 4 men, left home at Macha village in Voice County 7 years ago to travel to Shakahola to meet Mackenzie. 7 years ago. My 2 aunts divorced their husbands and traveled to Malindi with their 4 children and joined the church. Our efforts to get them are fruitless. This is according to Ann Mwakazi, a teacher and a relative of the missing people. Says 2 aunts divorced their husbands, took their children, went to Malindi. Speaking to the Standard in a telephone interview yesterday from Macha village, the teacher said they sent an elder to Malindi to search for the missing kin. The mobile phones for the missing kin are not in service anymore, and we don't know if they're dead or still alive.
Okay. Now, there's a trend. Can you see the trend here? This is the third, this morning alone, this is the third one now we've heard of women who are leaving their husbands to then go and join this church.
Yep.
And it's one of the things that the pastor would have said that then cut off your relations with your earthly partner in order for you to join this church and be holier unto Jesus, etc., etc.
Yep.
Now, cultic behavior or this kind of behavior, because look, this man is deviant, like we said, it's already been established. The level of deviance for you to be able to remove somebody from a nurturing relationship and say that it is you then who offers them this life. And then even worse still, removing life from yourself in order to get a better life in heaven or wherever it is that he promised people that they would go. While you yourself remain alive, do you ever hear that he also starved himself? Didn't hear that he starved himself. But this is just interesting that I think that you probably find more like this, that it was necessary for you. This one wrote a letter, left her husband. Another one divorced husband and came from wherever they came from to go and join the church.
Yep.
How many more were there?
Many.
And
There's
you come
another
with
one.
little children.
There's another one. Let me tell you the story of this family from Vihiga, okay? Relatives of individuals suspected to have joined Pastor Mackenzie's church in Kilifi are keeping their fingers crossed. All right? In Vihiga County, the parents of Kevin Asena, who was 41 years old, are happy that he was arrested during a raid by police on the church, and in the process, his life was saved. Asena had called his parents weeks ago to say that he was headed for death through starvation. He's been a member of this church for over 5 years now. The family says it got information from their son that their son was rescued together with his wife Miriam Okembo and placed under police custody. This one went with his wife and their child. Wapi? Shakahola.
To the jungle.
And they had called, Asena had called the mother and warned that this was the last time. He called, according to Ombajo, Asena's father, Harun Ombajo, he called and he had one message, that when we next call him and we don't get him on the phone, he'd have died of starvation. By good luck, a day later, they received a police report that Asena had been placed in custody for being a member of the church. He heard that also the wife was in police custody. This is a 41-year-old. There's two sides to the story. The earlier story was him getting kids out of school. And of course, the parents working with the children and telling the children stop going to school. There's the story that we read yesterday of this young man who told his cousin, let's go. No, actually, I saw it, I think, on Citizen. Man told his cousin, let's go. And they left. They had cleared fourth form. They left their home in somewhere in Kisumu County. They traveled all the way to Malindi
To join this church.
and they were called. They said, yeah, tuko hapa mambo ya kanisa. We're in Malindi. This is a 41-year-old man who takes his wife and they go to Malindi and they are starving themselves to death.
And one would argue that he's past the age of being impressionable.
Yeah.
You see, so it's not a wave or something that you need to convince. This is a man who is settled with family, etc. His mind is not toing and froing as it were if he was younger.
Yep.
So what is it?
Well, if you look at the anatomy of what you may refer to as a cult leader, the people who've studied them over time, one of the things that they are, first of all, they're very charismatic.
Oh, yeah. You're going to endure yourself to them.
Yes, and they're very convincing, and it's a process. They start by presenting you with something that you find wonderful. Like if you look at the story in Shakahola, when this person first got there, okay, he was very helpful to the locals. He'd provide relief food. He endeared himself. The locals liked him. They said, "This is truly a man of God." Okay. Then the other thing that cult leaders tend to do is they get you to the point where they get you to believe that there is a truth that they know that hasn't been uncovered by others except himself.
Yep.
And that to get to understand this truth, their word must not be questioned. And they tend to have an iron grip on the followers. And usually, not following what this man of God says often has dire consequences.
Absolutely.
Okay? And they normally surround themselves with thugs and hoodlums who purport to be the pillars of that particular cult.
So they're the enforcers.
Those are the enforcers, exactly. So people start off by, there are those who actually believe that this person's word cannot be questioned. Then there are those who, for fear of what might happen to them, will continue believing. But when you look, the pattern is the same. People who have left their jobs, there's a lady who left the military. They've left everything they were doing and determined. It tells you, you're asking about the person, you're talking about somebody who, when someone is charismatic and someone is convincing, you see, we all have unresolved issues in our lives. All someone needs to do is tap into it. Just tap. And somebody who is charismatic and someone who's convincing can tap into it and feel that's it. My problems are going to be solved.
For me, the unsettling thing, folks, is that really we do not know how long this has been going on.
Yeah.
You do not know how many more bodies are buried
there'll be more
inside that place.
Yep.
And the convincing that happened across board. We have people going from all over the country.
Yep.
Vihiga, Kisumu, Mandera. There was somebody who went from Mandera all the way to Shakahola. And this is the thing I'm saying, that it spread like wildfire. The deviance of one man was able to convince people to bury their children.
Yes.
And then somebody tells me that this thing should not be regulated. I'm sorry.
Of interest. The other characteristics that many cult leaders have, many of them are not educated, or the education is skimpy.
That's all they've gotten. It's just basic.
They're fairly basic, just as we call wananchi wa kawaida. But the charisma,
it's big. Now, I'm listening to you people talk, and I'm just thinking, okay, you're describing something that happened 2,000 years ago. This boy has not gone to school. Father is a carpenter. Starts coming, stands up there and tells one guy who's a renowned fisherman, come.
Let's go.
And the guy stops and comes.
But that's it.
And he says, this guy showed me how to fish. And the Pharisees and Sadducees regulate this chap.
Yeah. But was he asking people to bring themselves
to
harm?
Yes.
To harm. To starve themselves.
Not necessarily to harm and starve themselves.
And this is the thing, there's a very thin line. I get what you're saying. It's a very thin line.
It's to one extent is don't starve yourself, but then the others is what else was he doing?
All right.
He's pulling the crowds, he's doing all these things.
Every religious leader that we know on this planet
has all those characteristics.
Precisely. Now, this is where now then you find the nexus. The yin and the yang in this story. Every quality that a cult leader would have is the same exact qualities that somebody who you call a good religious leader is likely to have.
Absolutely.
Until that little twist takes over.
It's a very thin line.
Because religious leaders, take your pick, the ones who are renowned, many of them were fairly what you call self-effacing. They were not materialistic, and you can't put a finger on the things they owned. And they were promising something which was not on earth. But not at the expense of your life. If you look at the teachings, it was how to make your life better. Now, if you're a cult leader, that's what you take. You promise the very, very same things. Why do you think it is appealing? Because we live in a country where people are very religious. So if you touch a nerve, the need for someone to connect with a higher being, you touch that one. And you touch it at a level where somebody feels, yes, my need is being met, they will come. No one goes to suffer, or no one goes to the point where they're seeking suffering and death. They don't. You don't get there instantly. You start off with a good thing. These are the things come on incrementally, bit by bit by bit by bit, until you suddenly find you're in a stranglehold.
So that's a point. At the point where you say, let's regulate this, what will you be regulating? Because at what point are you saying, stop it?
We'd start by asking.
Stop it or don't even start it.
At the point of saying, all right, so this guy has already started asking people to kill themselves. That's the point you come in?
No.
Or is it the point when he's teaching?
No, I think, see, this is the thing. And it wouldn't, and the kind of enforcement or regulation that you're talking about is not just bring your papers, let's see if you went. And I think it would need to be a little bit more, it would need to have a little more depth than that. Because the truth of the matter is that somebody who's deviant will show you signs. You will know.
Yeah, so what are those signs?
Well, I mean, you would have to, that's what I'm saying, you would have to have more depth. You need to have the people who study behavior.
You've got to have it written down. What is it that will be written down that will be saying?
I don't know, but there are standards, and that's what I'm saying. That because of the nature of this thing that we're talking about, there's certain people that you would have to go through the standardization process of requirements for
perhaps.
You see, the same thing that we talk about, crime is written. This is criminal. If you kill somebody, it's criminal. If you inflict harm on somebody, it's criminal. And all those things, and people are known, the people whose wiring is slanting that way, okay? But they're only identified at the point when they start doing it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you cannot say now let's regulate human beings and say,
but
we shall weed out the deviant deeds just by looking at them and studying them psychologically.
Today, ask CT, if by the time you get there is nobody who will tell you today that they went through some kind of psych evaluation, and they will say, if attention had been paid when this person was younger, there were certain signs that they would have showed for you to then point to something. Of course. Am I wrong?
Of course. But there's no law that says that you start doing those things and start identifying those signs and pulling them out, even when you do that.
No law. But we're saying that if such a thing, I mean, how is Kagame doing it today?
Kagame is just doing it in one way. Kagame is just saying bring paper. But paper cannot be religion.
When we say, and this is that's why I said it has to have more depth to it. It's not a law because it's not brick and mortar. Here, it's going beyond because you're dealing with human beings and you're dealing with morality and behavior. And that's why I said it needs to have more depth.
You know, if we were to look at examples that people who choose to congregate because of some commonality, whether it's a professional body, whether it's a religious organization, what makes these institutions work is self-regulation. They are the ones who set the rules, or they are the ones who set rules that they can agree on.
Yeah.
And when they agree on, they will form bodies for people who have that commonality, whatever you want to call it. Now, this one, I'm actually going off, completely off. But this is what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
We pointed out time and time again that the church, and I'm referring to the church, specifically had abrogated their duties, and they had become more secular, they had become more of politicians than they were spiritual leaders. In the last year or so, we've seen Christian leaders coming up. We've seen now religious leaders, other religious, coming up and pointing to the things that need pointing out to and saying this is wrong within society. If the units of church, because this person is supposed to be a pastor, someone who belongs to the Christian fold,
who will never be questioned.
Yes, if the Christian fraternity, the leadership within the Christian church, were vigilant of just the fundamentals of their functions, fundamentals, looking after the welfare of their flock. All these people who went here, if you look at their background, they belong to some church or the other somewhere along the line.
This was not their first run at the rodeo.
No.
Yeah.
What is it that drew them from where they were to find this particular church that attractive?
Okay.
Now, what this tells me also, this is not the last we're going to hear of such happening.
No, it won't. It will not be.
This one is getting our attention because of the bizarre nature and just the numbers of people who have ended up dead and the human interest stories that keep coming up.
This one has led to death. There are others that have led to other things.
Yes, but they've led
Going
to
to
destruction
poverty,
of
handing
people's
over
life.
all your vehicles to the church, for example.
An entire
and all your
building.
riches.
Somebody is said to have handed off an entire building to a preacher. One of these charismatic preachers who we see nowadays operates from a building that was donated.
These individuals who claim to be pastors, if the people who belong to their fold are in leadership, whether they are called traditional churches, whatever you want to call them, if they cannot keep people who subscribe to their faith in check or call them out when they need to, then this buck is going to stop at their doorstep.
We'll discuss this in greater detail later.
Yeah, we will. Can I tell you about what's happening at the counties? This is important, I think, to look at, right? So the Council of Governors met yesterday. All governors from around the country had a meeting in Nairobi. They've given the government now 2 weeks to wire 94.35 billion shillings to counties, failure to which they will shut down operations, okay? As the National Treasury fought back accusations of deliberately starving the devolved units of cash. The Council of Governors were unanimous in this decision yesterday. There was an emergency session to discuss the cash crunch, and they issued this notice because they said, look, without the funds, you've crippled the counties. We've been trying what we could all along. So what we'll do is we will then say authoritatively, let's just stop anything from happening. When you decide that it's important enough for you to send the money, then that will happen then. Anne Waiguru, who is the chairperson of the COG, said the arrears owed to 47 counties at 31.4 billion for February, 26.9 billion for March, and 33.9 billion for April. So she's not even talking about going forward. She's talking about until now. The 3-month delay is unprecedented It is in the history of devolution and negates the spirit of the meeting held in Naivasha between the president and the governors. He had called them and they had a kumbaya moment where they said, we're moving forward, we're doing this thing. She said, okay, then you don't pay us. Then we split the campfire songs. It's not going to happen. She said county governments, which have struggled to even pay employees, could no longer operate without the funds, and called on the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary to immediately release the money. By dint of this, I quote, the Council of Governors hereby issues a 14-day notice to shut down counties if February, March and April arrears are not released within 2 weeks. They didn't quibble or squabble over this position. They were all agreed. The governor said the cash crunch is to blame for the failure by counties to deliver on services as expected. So it didn't matter whether it was Kisumu County or Nairobi County or Makueni County. All of them said, we cannot. Professor Ndungu said, we are not deliberately violating the law by starving counties of funds, but this is a problem across board because of the severity of our economic situation. Okay, so he says that's the reason, because we don't have cash. That's why we've not sent you the money. She said, well, that's good, but we're giving you 14 days to do it. Don't do it, we shut it down.
Let's see if they shut it down. So the CS for the National Treasury was at the Senate, right? Yeah. And at the Senate, he went and he told them, I'm actually going to release the funds for February. By end of this week, I'll have released.
Last week.
This one, yeah. Because the man was before the Senate committee.
You get the password
yesterday.
This week. This week is always this week, man.
This week.
Yes, this week. This one. This one. And if it's next week,
it's this week.
We'll still be in it, yes.
I saw Senator Ledama Olekina, speaking and saying, this man has been before us and this man has promised, and let's wait and see whether he's going to be able to now release the funds. And so those are the things. The CS for the National Treasury is sitting there saying, and in fact, he was saying, we've also like to meet with the county governors because we can help them on how they can mobilize their own source revenue. Wewe umeshindwa kumobilize yako, unaenda kumobilize mwingine. We'd like to help them mobilize their own source revenue, so then they can raise their own revenue. Waache kutusumbua hapa juu.
This is not even a speck in your eye. It's the entire forest. The entire forest and it's cousins in your eye. You're looking at going to help somebody else.
So we are saying that you starve counties of monies that are owed to them.
So that necessity becomes the mother
so
of
that you then tell them
invention.
they cannot raise own source revenue. So that you can then tell them that
How to help them.
When you yourself keep telling us that you're having problems raising it. Surely here, pot calling who what? So the agenda is control.
Yep.
Yes.
And that rides into that bill by Kimani Ichung'wah, which the governor has also spoke about and said absolutely
forget
no way.
about it.
No way.
You know, Kimani Ichung'wah is not a good student of history. People before him have pulled such stunts before with devastating consequences. There's a man called Keka Kimani in Nakuru. He led a whole group of people who wanted to change the constitution. And what they were looking for was a succession plan for Jomo Kenyatta. Well, history has shown us how that went.
Isn't it?
So these grand things where you think that by changing this, it'll propel you to a certain position, it very rarely does. It propels you downwards, whereas your aim was to be propelled upwards.
If you have flour, eggs, sugar, milk, vanilla, what are you doing? Maybe you're making a cake. In this case, devolution is supposed to take control to the counties. Then you don't give them the money, you bring in some bills. What are you doing? See, you're stifling the thing.
Yep.
So how then do you...
You have to come back and say, no, this thing is not working.
What's the difference between the national government and Mackenzie?
Oh, wow, wow, wow. Oh, wow. I don't even have anything
They're
to
preaching
say.
starvation. Both.
Starvation. They're both nyongering people. Wow.
Ni sawa.
City.
Ni sawa bwana.
After all, the president said it's an act of terror.
Yes, so
It's more or less the same
government
thing.
is terrorizing.
The counties.
Let's go by his word. What then do you think is happening in the counties?
Yeah, what's all this?
Yes.
Well, I'll keep it here for Kenya's biggest conversation. It comes up in the next hour. We speak to the MP for Gatundu South, Gigi Kagombe, why he wants Kiambu schools reserved for Kiambu students. This one is going to be an interesting one. 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Aseto. President William Ruto has castigated controversial Pastor Paul Mackenzie over the deaths of several people believed to be his followers. The head of state said he is ordered for the case to be handled with speed.
Thing in Kilifi, in Shakahola, is akin to terrorists. There is no difference between Mr. Mackenzie, who pretends and postures as a pastor, when in fact he is a terrible criminal. Terrorists use religion to advance their heinous acts.
The president further cautioned that religious groups or leaders whose preachings are contrary to the constitutional right should be prosecuted and their institutions closed down. These as IG Jafeth Koome, DCI boss Amid Mohammed visited the forest and condemned the heinous act. He further said that the exhumation and autopsy of bodies is ongoing.
So far, 14 people are in police custody regarding the matter we are talking about. And this has so far claimed several lives within Shakawala village. According to our criminal records, this person, Paul Mackenzie, he has several previous different criminal records dating back to 2017. Following his recent arrests, those who have since been rescued alive are 29. Well, by yesterday, 47 people had been confirmed dead. However, today, again, additional 11. Therefore, that makes a number of 58 people confirmed dead, and this is out of bodies exhumed and those who died on the way to the hospital.
Meanwhile, the National Council of Churches and Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops have disowned Kilifi controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie, calling him an imposter. The church leaders blamed security agencies for failing to act on time after pastors and bishops in the area raised an alarm about his illegal activities. Meanwhile, religious leaders across the country have condemned Mackenzie's teachings.
People have been called for prayer and finally they are read to death. I believe Christ does not call us to punish us. he is after us getting life and having it in abundance. And so, fellow Christians, we should not walk just blindly on our faith.
Tukumbuke tu matokeo haya yalitokea Uganda, watu wakashawishiwa wauze mali kwa sababu dunia inaisha. Sasa na tokeo kama hili limetokea hapa Kenya na hatujui mbele kutakuwa na tokeo gani. Kwa hivyo sisi kama viongozi wa kidini tunaiomba serikali, madhehebu yanapojitokeza lazima yaangaliwe kwa undani na yanafanya nini na mahubiri yao wanahubiri nini.
Interior CS Kithure Kindiki is expected in Kilifi today as the examination exercise continues, and Kithure Kindiki says the government will implement task force recommendations that will ensure police concerns are resolved. Speaking at a graduation ceremony in Kimbu County, Kithure said these will achieve a conducive working environment for the officers.
On the reforms of the National Police Service, the Kenya Prison Service, and the National Youth Service. Your Excellency, sir, we have made our input to that task force which you appointed, hoping that the final product will help us implement the recommendations that will help us take our Kenya Prison Service and the National Police Service to the next level.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi and his part applauded security forces for being at the forefront in protecting Kenyan borders.
A lot of these men and women are always called upon to serve beyond our borders in peacekeeping efforts, in training of other nations' people, and that is a clear recognition that Kenya has made tremendous strides in ensuring that we cultivate the right kind of public service.
The Council of Governors Chairperson Anwar Guru says counties will shut down in 2 weeks' time over the delay of funds by the National Treasury. Guru says devolution is under threat from the national government. She said they issued a 14-day notice to the National Treasury to release arrears of February, March and April.
We are therefore call upon the CS National Treasury to immediately release the 94.35 billion owed to county governments without any further delay. By dint of this, the Council of Governors hereby issues a 14 days notice to shut down counties if February, March, April arrears are not released within the next 2 weeks.
We will have absolutely no option but to shut down counties and ask the workers to go home until such a time when counties are funded.
She further notified all Kenyans that due to the failure of the National Treasury to disburse the funds, county governments will not be able to deliver services as expected, further accusing the Senate of sabotaging the counties after blocking the increase of allocation as proposed by the CRA. This is News Web. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
All right, the heavens have opened this morning and rain everywhere. Water everywhere, not a drop to drink, it's said. So there's traffic this morning. It's starting to build up in certain parts of the city. It's heavy on the Thika Superhighway. All in stride, just at that underpass, coming past the drift at around Utali. It's picking up slowly on James Gishuru, as well as coming off Waiyaki Way. The Eastern Bypass has some traffic this morning as well. Nothing too scary or too earth-rattling, so don't worry about it for now. But, get on your merrier way. Let us know if there's anything out of whack. Talk to us on Spice FM, KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
7
the
minutes
only
after
way to
7.
start your day.
Welcome to the Situation Room second hour. If you're just joining us on KTN Home, we've been here since 6 a.m. and we're live on Spice FM until 10 a.m. You'll be with us on KTN Home until 9, and then the conversations also continue on YouTube and Facebook, where we live stream every weekday morning, where we also tell you about Kingdom Bank and how you can make your life better with Kingdom Bank. Songa mbele with Kingdom Bank. 0709 881300. That's the number to call. Walk into Kingdom Bank in branch anywhere in the country and tell them, I want to songa mbele. I have any amount from 50,000 shillings upwards. And then they tell you, actually, if you just put it in a fixed deposit account, maybe choose 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, what you can do is actually you can earn a lot of money. Up to 10% interest. This is what they are offering. And they say, if you come in, we'll tell you about our fixed deposit accounts, our savings accounts, our junior savings account. You can also learn about our interest and how we are compounding it, and put money here. Grow your wealth. That's Kingdom Bank, regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya. 0709 881300. Ndio hiyo. So we're waiting for the MP for Gatundu South. He's here and he'll be joining us shortly. As he comes in, Ndu, that story in the paper.
Heartbreaker. Heartbreak for the poor as Ruto walks back on NHIF rules is carried in the nation today. President had promised to lower minimum NHIF contributions from 500 shillings to 300 shillings, but the national government will not match the contribution to the fund for low-income earners. It was revealed by the president yesterday, 8 months after he announced that restructuring NHIF would see contributions pegged to one's income. This was in September. But he now said contributions to NHIF will now be graduated and will depend on people's income only. So it's nothing like, we will not match that, number one. Number two, because we just don't have enough money. He said this while on a campaign trail in Kirinyaga. This is when he had pledged that. Yeah. He said he was going to lower NHIF contributions from 500 to 300 and offer waivers to poor households unable to pay the monthly rates to ensure that the country achieves its universal healthcare goals. Yesterday now, when he was launching a centre at the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, he said the government was working to reform NHIF and turn it into a social health insurance scheme. He says they've interrogated the legislation at NHIF. He said that there is no need of matching NHIF contributions. He said we shall be presenting new regulations to Parliament by the 15th of May. After that, they will have, after a meeting that they will then have had on the 11th of May. He says failure is not an option, but in terms of matching, there really is no need.
So he said, what were his words?
Yesterday? So yesterday he said there is no need of matching NHIF contributions. We shall be presenting new regulations to Parliament on the 15th of May after we have had a meeting on the 11th of May. But in terms of his earlier promise of then matching the contributions so that universal healthcare could be accessible to all, the government is not going to be able to do that.
Okay, those are two different things I'm hearing. Okay? On the one hand, there's the issue of those who are employed contributing and the employer matching a contribution. On the other, there's the issue of the social side, where the vulnerable communities are identified, indigents, they're identified, and those ones are supported by the government. Is he reneging on the support to the indigents? Or is he talking about matching contributions by employer?
Both. Because he had said for indigents, they were going to reduce it from two things. One, from 500 to 300. In addition to that, there would be a match by the government so that your contribution goes from 500 to 300 shillings and the government would now give you 300 shillings at the same time towards your cover. Now,
but indigents ought to be supported 100% by government. Just
according to this, it's different.
Just like even before. Okay. That one, iko confusion hapo. Maybe tutasikia Mheshimiwa Jiji Kagombe ambaye ameingia kwa studio ataenda kuuliza atuambie. Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Very well, Eric.
Karibu sana.
Thanks for having me here.
The Honorable Jiji Kagombe is the MP for Gatundu South constituency, the constituency that has produced two presidents.
Yeah, that's our cash crop.
Your cash crop is presidency. Sawa basi. Were you in KU yesterday when the president was
No, I was not at KU yesterday. I had some other engagements.
Okay.
Yep.
Karibu sana to the Situation Room.
Asante.
To welcome you to the show, City Muga is here, and here's the day's proverb.
Very good.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week, beginning yesterday and ending Friday, are from the country of Côte d'Ivoire. Too much discussion means a quarrel.
Too much discussion means a quarrel. Gigi, when you hear this, what do you interpret?
Well, they must have had the wisdom. But we'll have a conversation about a lot of things that will not be quarreling. Yeah. So, but there must have been the wisdom. But it's interesting. I mean, at times when you find us wearing sufuria going to maandamano, then you know it's a conversation. But then it may be interpreted to be a quarrel. When we are all the time, wherever it is that we are, when the conversation becomes a lot, then there are a lot of disagreements. So I would agree with it.
It becomes a hot one.
Yeah.
Do you think the Ivorians are basically saying, let's not discuss too many things? When something has been said, follow, let's move.
Actually, the key word here is not discussions.
It's too much.
Yes.
Talk and talk and talk and talk. You never move.
They seem to be implying that the people want to talk incessantly. I mean, they're always
analysis paralysis
and talking, and they're wondering, hey, well, surely talking should lead to something else beyond just more generating more talk.
Yeah. So now you actually now start quarreling on, some simple things like semantics. No, what I meant was, but when you said it, that's not how it came out. Even the way you said it, your tone of voice was suggesting this and the other. So you even move from the...
Or you actually forget what it is that you're discussing.
Main topic.
Completely. And you veer off into other things.
You start quarreling.
That's where the too much comes in.
Okay. Well, Shimon, we've invited you today because you had an event in your constituency where you were handing out bursaries to various applicants from your constituency. Now, bursary obviously is ring-fenced from your CDF at what percent?
At a minimum of 25% and a maximum of 35% of the fund.
Maximum 35%. Yeah. What is 35% of the amount that you receive in Gatundu South?
Comes to about 41 million. 41 million, yes. So, but which is what I applied to. I applied the maximum because of the strained need for bursary. Actually, I had an application of 9,000. I had 9,000 applications. I only managed to issue to about 6,000 applications so far. So
9,000
individual
students,
applications, yes, had applied for
all bursaries. Of them residents of Gatundu South.
All of them residents of Gatundu South
had applied for these bursaries.
Yeah.
And you only were able to at least so far give 6 million.
6,000.
6,000, and that has gone to the 41 million.
Yeah. That's what the 41 million has gone to.
So what's the average amount that each student is getting?
You know what we did? See, now there will be different categories because, for example, you have primary, secondary schools that are day schools, so the fee is different. So those ones would get about 3,000, then 5,000 for the boarding secondary schools, 10,000 for tertiary institutions, and 20,000 for what you call special needs. Children in special schools. Yeah.
I want to play a clip here of what you said on the day, which is the main basis of our conversation. Okay, you raised several issues that are quite. They've gotten the attention of everybody. So listen to what the Honorable Gigi Kagombe said.
Ati hapa Kiambu shule za upili ambazo zinafundisha watoto wametoka kaunti zingine, sitaki kutaja majina, wanatoka huko wanakuja kusomea hapa kwa sababu kuna quota system. Na kwao hata wakipata hii pesa tunapata ya CDF, hawajengi mashule, hawajengi madarasa kwa sababu watajenga kwa nini na wanajua watoto wao watawapeleka Kiambu wakuja wasomee hapa. Sisi basari yetu inakuwa strained, sisi ndo tunajenga madarasa hapa. Sisi basari yetu inakuwa strained kwa sababu tuko na watoto wengi. Sisi basari yetu inakuwa strained kwa sababu watoto wetu wanapata pesa kidogo. Wale kazi yao ni kujenga majumba kubwa huko na huku Isli na kwingine. Sisi hiyo maneno tumekataa. So Sisi tukirudi pale bunge tunasema watu wasomee kwao. Sisi watu wa Kiambu tusomee wapi? Wewe kama mko huko unamjajenga shule, msomee huko. Mjue kama mtasoma chini ya mti. Hapana, sisi tumekata. Ama amujachoka nyinyi? Ati nyinyi mtoto yako amekaa hapa amepata max 350 hawezi kuchukuliwa shule iko kwa kaunti yao. Ati anapelekwa shule nyingine sijui iko wapi na anaenda day school, ati sisi tunanyimwa chance. Na sisi ni wazazi wetu walijenga hizi shule na ni sisi tulijenga hizi shule. Na hata saa hii ni pesa yetu ya basari na pesa yetu ya CDF inatumika kuongeza shule na madarasa na maktaba na maabara. Na nyinyi wengine mnakaa huko mnatupigia hapa nduru. Kazi yenu ni kuvaa sufuria kwa kichwa na kuenda kuandamana.
Okay. Maybe you are speaking, you were in public, you saw a microphone, you saw a crowd, and you spoke. Now you've had a moment to reflect on what you're saying. What were you saying?
First of all, this conversation is not about just schools. This conversation is about equality of distribution of the national resources. This conversation is about the equalization fund. This conversation is about the CDF and NGCDF. This conversation is not just about schools. I want to tell you, when you find that you saw the incidents in Ruiru where parents died in a stampede looking for bursary. Mm-hmm. And nobody comes looking for bursary because they don't need it. These are people who are really in need. Mm. But you see, the problem we have even in that fund by itself, and there are many funds that we'll talk about, but that specific fund called NGCDF, that is established under the NGCDF Act of 2015, if you look at what it says about division of that money, is based on constituencies alone. Article 24 of it says that you only, Article 34 1B is the one that specifies how that money will be divided. And it says that it shall be divided equally amongst all constituencies. So it doesn't matter how many people you have in your constituency, it doesn't matter your population of the constituency. So the fund is there at 2.5% of the national amount, and then
so it's
voila,
equal.
It's equal
to all 290.
When we have members of parliament, for instance, who represent maybe 25,000 people. I represent over 150,000 people, going to 80,000 voters. On average, maybe, and according to the last census, and now we are still getting information from the KNBS on now the new data that we have. We're already at 300. But there's no, the only article that tries to correct that is now 34 B that says that a quarter of the amount of the 2.5% of the amount that from the consolidated fund, then a quarter of it shall be divided not according to population, but according to the number of wards. So you realize that when I come from a population, when you have a population like Ruiru, for example, that has 160,000 voters, then it tells you that it probably has a student population of maybe 100,000. What that means is that person with 100,000 students and another person with 2,000 students get the same amount. Where is equality? And that is why we're saying we want one man, 1 shilling, 1 vote. And by the way, when I talk about schools, the people who are making noise is people what your Twitter and a few people on KOT who are just making noise about, you said this is but the actual person who is in those counties that you're talking about would want his members of parliament and his leaders to be put to account on how they spend the money. When we say that you build schools where you are, we mean exactly that.
Okay.
So, and we mean it that we have national resources. We have national resources.
Yeah.
And this money is supposed to help that person, that bottom-up person, that person at the lowest of society. But what happens? What ends up happening is that this money will end up in the hands of a few, those people that I refer to. You know, these people that we say wanajenga manyumba makubwa is not the mwananchi.
Who are these people that you're referring to?
These are not the wananchi.
Who are they?
You know, there are a few beneficiaries. These are the ones who are making noise on social media. A few beneficiaries
who
are in leadership.
290 people, men and women, who've been elected from specific constituencies.
Yes.
You're one of the 290.
Yes.
So who are these others that you're referring to?
Among the 290.
So they're members of parliament who receive the same kind of money that you.
It's not just members of parliament. It's not just members of parliament.
Okay, let me ask a different question. Perhaps it will help you a little bit more. All right. From these numbers that you speak of, and let's take Kiambu County as an example, are you able to tell us of the students who were awarded these bursaries, because that's a quota system they have an issue with?
Yep.
Of those who were awarded these bursaries, are you able to unequivocally tell which ones are outside or come from outside Kiambu County? Do you know right now?
What we've been forced to do, because of the severity of this case, is that we've even been using IABC KIMS kits to identify the beneficiaries, the parents of the beneficiaries now.
Okay.
So that we know that they come from our constituencies.
So all 6,000?
All 6,000 of the ones that you've awarded the bursaries to
are from my constituency. At least their parents are from the constituency, which follows that they are from the constituency.
Okay. So the ones who did not get the bursaries are from outside Kiambu County?
No. We were just unable to. You see, now we're talking about 3,000 shillings.
Okay. I think
what we've been able to
shift. Let's shift the question the other way around.
Yeah.
Let's start with this. How many schools are there in Gatondo South constituency? How many secondary schools?
28.
28 secondary schools in Gatondo South. Public secondary.
Yeah.
What's the categorization? How many of these are sub-county? How many are county, extra county, and national schools in Gatondo South? Let's start with national.
We have we have 4. I don't have a national school in Gatondo sub-county.
0 national school.
0.
Mm-hmm.
4, 5 provincial.
5 extra county.
5 extra county. The others are just now.
So the others are county and sub-county.
County.
So the only schools that are admitting students from outside Gatondo South, in Gatondo South, are 5 out of the 28. So 23 schools in Gatondo South are admitting students from Gatondo South.
Yes.
These 6,000 students that you gave bursary, are they all studying in Gatondo South? Are there some students here, with 6,000, who are in another county?
Outside of Kiambu County?
About 90% are within Gatondo.
Okay.
So 10% is about 600.
Are within the county.
So 600 students out of these 6,000 that you give a bursary are going to a school outside Gatondo South.
Yes.
Are there those that are going to a school outside Kiambu County?
No.
None. So even those that are among these 600, there are some who are in national schools, but those national schools are within Kiambu County.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your beef?
I told you, my beef is the infrastructure within, and this is not just about Kiambu County. This is about many other counties. You know, when we talk about 1 man, 1 shilling, one vote, it's not about Kiambu County alone. We're just saying that the distribution of finances shall be pegged on the population and not on the vastness or the mass land of land. You get? What I'm saying, therefore, is when we come to Kiambu County, for instance, and this Kiambu County was an example. The same thing with Moranga County, the same thing with Nyeri County, the same thing with the Kirinyaga, Laikipia, and Nyandarua, and a lot of the central province counties, and even in some of the counties, for example, Meru and Tharaka Nithi. So you find a school that has a population of 2,500. Take a school like Mangu, a population of going to 3,000 students.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you look at the infrastructure established, and the quota system is then you realize that the monies that are support, and you know these schools, we support them using these funds. For example, when there's a need to do a class, and you know, like, for example, we are moving from to CBC, and we needed to do classes for what do you call it? The CBC classes, the 2 classes that we're doing.
Yeah, junior secondary.
These junior secondary schools classes are going to be built using the CDF money.
Yeah.
What it means, and you know how the allocation of those of that CBC was, and the determination by the ministry to decide that this school now can build needs to be awarded a JSS, so you need to create the infrastructure for it. Is that the amounts given to us are very little compared to the populations that we have.
Okay.
You get?
It's a different story.
So
I want to stick on this one story first, and sorry, Ndu, just so we can clearly understand the basis with which you said what you are saying when you're issuing out bursaries. As you've said yourself, out of the 6,000 students that you gave bursaries, right, about 5,400 of them are going to schools within Gatundu South. About 600 of them are going to schools outside of Gatundu South constituency, but still within Kiambu County. Those are the ones who are going to an extra county school and a national school in Kiambu County. No one in your constituency is going to a school outside of Kiambu County. No one in your constituency has been denied an opportunity to go to secondary school. It's 100% transition. Right? So nobody has been locked out of a school in Gatundu South or in Kiambu County. But you have a problem with other people coming from other counties to Kiambu County.
That's not it. There are children who've been denied opportunities to attend, depending on their marks, to attend a national school within Kiambu County, to attend to an extra county school within Kiambu County, and have ended up maybe being in a sub-county
school.
Yes.
Yet they scored very high
according to their score, they would have been in... There's a child who was admitted to a school in Kiambu, a provincial or an extra county school or a national school, who had lower marks than one who went to a sub-county school.
I see.
Within my constituency.
And this is where the quota system comes.
That's where the quota system checks.
Explain the quota system.
Now, this quota system, first of all, you need to understand, it's a system that was established in 1978.
Yeah.
And it was very noble at that time. It was to look at, first of all, we were strained in terms of even these schools, and you know, we've come a long way from 1978. And the issue was really create parity in distribution of these students to access to developed areas and such things. And really, these are conversations that is honest.
Yeah.
But since 1978, a lot has changed, including we Kenyans sitting in 2010 and saying, we do not like the marginalization that is happening, and we think money is concentrated in some places, so let's devolve our funds.
Yeah.
And we created counties. So what was supposed to be, you know, the quota system of 1978 was supposed to be an affirmative action kind of program.
Yeah.
But what we established in 2010 was supposed to be panacea, was supposed to be to give now a permanent solution to the
marginalization.
To the marginalization and you know, to the inequalities.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is, despite that now, and what we saw when we were even devolving health and devolving schools and education, you know, at the basic level, was so that counties are able now to deal with their issues. So you invest. Why would we? And you know, there's also another issue here. There are some schools that you find people fighting over. And you find that even when Matiang'i tried to introduce the system of mapping students right from the get-go when they get into school all the way to the university, he was bashed a lot. But I was trying to say that we want to know this child who went to this school, where they got educated and where they sat the exam. You know, right now as we sit, there are people who will educate their children in very good public or private schools in Nairobi, in high school or in primary school, and book them in other places in those counties that we're talking about, so that they benefit. So they only go there to sit their exams. So that when you're looking at because the only way of identifying a student is where they sat the exam. And where they sat the exam and where they went to school are two different things. And they're not related. So therefore, the quota system is that it creates some points. And you say that let's say the pass mark is 300, all right?
Yeah.
So you say a child from this county, because there shall be children from these counties, all these counties that shall be picked to attend to down the national schools. Then if you to pick 1,000 students from that county, then it so follows that they will be below, their marks will be below some students in other counties who had performed better. You understand? And that's the quota system.
So, for example, a student scoring 380 in a school in Gatundu South, comparing to a student who scores 380 in a school in Isiolo, for instance, those two are not treated the same.
They are not treated the same.
The one
so
who
you
scores
find
380 in a school in Isiolo would get an opportunity, a first opportunity to a national school.
To come to Mangu, but the one with the 370 cannot attend even an extra county school within the county. You understand? So these are the issues that we're talking about. And now there are two issues here: the quota system and the finances around it. Now, this school that is in Kiambu County or is in Murang'a County that we want to attend to come to has been built from finances that was specifically for that sub-county or that county.
Is that really a fact?
That's a fact.
Are we talking about,
I am telling you,
are we talking about national schools or extra county schools?
All of them. If you want to do a class in Mangu, let me tell you, City, if you want to do a class in Mangu right now, if Mangu needs a class and the Ministry of Education has not been able to provide a class, that infrastructure shall be created by the Member of Parliament using the CDF amount.
Yes. I wasn't talking about the extra class. I was talking about the establishment of the school.
The establishment, some of these schools are very old. They were even way beyond the NGCDF.
Yes, they were. You see, the quota system you speak of gives the county or the area that the school is nestled in 85% of the opportunity to have their students in that school, and only 15% from outside that particular county.
That is in the law, but it's not followed.
I don't know, actually. That's the whole point.
It's in the law, but it's not followed. And this is what I'm telling you now. That for that purpose, then someone will come and register there. That's why I'm talking about the registration of exam centers. That you find someone, according to this quota, then this is where we need our children to be. So this is where we take our children to go and sit the exams there. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to come and you are a resident of that, so that when we are talking about the distribution of resources, then you are counted in it, so that we factor you in. And then again, how do you do that? That's why we're saying that we want this money to be divided according to the population.
And not the schools. Let's take a break.
Not schools. Okay, that's the point.
There's a mix-up
of
point issues.
Here is one shilling.
Let's take a break and then we come back and continue. 25 minutes to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Gigi Kagombe is the Member of Parliament for Gatundu South constituency. He is here this morning to talk about the issue of equitable distribution of resources and also accessing of schools and education. He says the students who come into schools in Kiambu County from outside Kiambu County, and that is disenfranchising students who are in Kiambu County, who are residents of Kiambu County, whose parents are actually contributing to the development of Kiambu County. Okay, come to understand on that. Showmax and Second Family.
Titi, did you do like that?
Over the weekend, did you get an opportunity to watch? You had visitors.
I had an opportunity to watch, but opportunity cost. I prefer to read. There was something I was reading, and it caught my attention. So
it's a fantastic story. This one.
Yes.
It probably came from a really, really good book, the idea at least, of how Leo passed away, and then out of the ashes rose the second family that, well, he probably knew he had and others didn't. And so, Second Family on Showmax premiered earlier this month, and 3 episodes every week talking about the intrigues of the Second Family. Kenya's first telenovela. Showmax.com. Log on, pay up, and watch.
Back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
They say blood is thicker than water. But is it really? Follow the story of a young girl whose entire life gets turned upside down when she learns the shocking truth about her father's identity. Drama ensues as she fights to find her place in the world in Second Family, a brand new Showmax telenovela directed by Adam Wolf and starring Vanessa Okeo, Brian Ogola, and others. Subscribe to watch it now, only on showmax.com.
Oh my God, look at the curtains. Oh, and the shoes. Wow, my dream fridge. Oh.
What is it? My friend, you don't have money. Let's go.
Yes, yes, yes. I know what to do. The interest on my fixed deposit has matured to Songambele na Kingdom Bank.
What is it about Kingdom Bank? Everyone is surprising me about this Songambele na Kingdom Bank move.
Songambele na Kingdom Bank. Kingdom Bank is now offering mid to long-term fixed saving with higher interest rates. Earn up to 10% interest from as little as 50,000 Kenya shillings on our fixed and core deposits. Enjoy a variety of our great services including savings and junior savings accounts for your kids. Get return on your fixed investments today at Kingdom Bank. Songambele na Kingdom Bank. Shop now for all you want. Talk to us on 0709 881300 for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Kingdom Bank is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
A drizzle and heavier rain in many parts of Nairobi at 16, highs of 22 today, and we'll see highs of 23 in Nakuru. It's cloudy at 16, and at 16 cloudy as well in Nyeri. It'll go to highs of 23. We'll see highs of 24 in a sunny Eldoret at 12. At 26, it's sunny in Mombasa, highs of 31 and highs of 31 as well in a sunny Malindi. And at 20, it's sunny in Kisumu, highs of 27 and lows of 19. 17 will be the low in a mostly cloudy Kakamega, going to highs of 26. Looking into Kampala, it's cloudy at 19, and Dar es Salaam is sunny at 25. 13 and partly cloudy in Johannesburg. It'll go to highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 33 in a mostly clear Lagos at 27. It's 24 and mostly cloudy in Kinshasa. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 32.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice and
Spice up your life.
Okay, slightly heavier on the thicker superhighway this morning. Coming in from Outer Ring at the junction, some traffic there, but it's actually not looking too messy. Let's look outside of Nairobi. There was accident since about 4 a.m. today. Heavy traffic at Kinembe. CT knows where Kinembe is. And we're asking folks to use the Maimahi route instead. Rather, Kimende. Sorry.
Yes, I know what Kimende is.
They wrote it here.
About, I have no
Kimende.
Kimende.
Heavy traffic jam at Kimende. Use Maimahi instead.
I know what Kimende is.
Pretty heavy. So you want to think about it. It's not me. The people who wrote it here are writing their own things. Spice from KE on Twitter. Talk to us. Let's keep things moving this morning.
Hey, okay.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice up.
It's okay. It's all right. And it's sawa.
Right.
The Honorable Gigi Kagombe is a member of Parliament for Gatundu South constituency. He's here. So, City, no, Indu interjected a number of your questions. Please go.
No, I think I'm looking at. I think there's a cacophony of issues here, Mheshimiwa. I'm hearing you say, over and above all of this, that the issue of the apportioning of funds to the population within each devolved unit seems to carry the day in all of the things that you've said here. And you're not the first one to have brought it up. That there should be one man, one shilling, and many have carried that argument. When we're looking at schools, just based on what you've said today, I don't know that the issue really is that there are many students coming from outside Gatundu South who are then attending school, and then there's an issue. I don't see the struggle there. I hear you saying, over and above everything else, that there needs to be infrastructure that guarantees the delivery of resources commensurate to the population that exists within whatever devolved unit at whatever level.
Yep.
Am I right so far?
That's it.
All right. So then shouldn't we be looking at clamoring for legislation that guarantees the delivery of those resources to the population? Because the politics would come in and we could muck things up. But here we are saying that there's a bigger issue here, and education can come into play, but the resource mobilization and providing of those resources seems to be a heavier issue.
Yeah, the distribution. Actually, the issue...
Could that have been the speech you made that instead?
The actual issue here is, if you listen to that clip at the end, if you had gone further, you would have heard I said, even if it means coming to you, the people, even if it means a referendum, we're willing to have it. Because I want you to look at the consolidated fund that is guaranteed under Article 224, and you look at first of all, let me describe where the inequalities are.
Okay.
So we have the counties. We have the counties that are considered to be ASAL counties, and so they benefit from the equalization fund. All right. Then you have an establishment of NGCDF that I've just told you about, which is another fund, which I told you has no fairness, has no parity, because it doesn't look at the population of the people who are beneficiaries of that amount that goes into the constituencies and just says, this is it. The cure to that would be, then we have an equal or a set number of population within constituencies, so that you say a constituency shall be that devolved unit that has 100,000 people, for instance. So that when you say that you're taking this money to the constituencies, then if you say you're giving 100 million, then it is fair. Then every devolved unit or every such similar unit has an equal number of people. The best way to look at it would be to look maybe by the number of registered voters, let's say. Yeah. So we say that a constituency shall be a unit that has this number of people.
Okay.
So that if you have a unit that is more than that, say you have one unit that has 200,000 people, then you consider that to be two constituencies. So that even in parliament, when you're voting, then the vote of that member who represents 200,000 people then has double the weight of the other member who has represents less.
So already currently,
so that even in distribution of resources, then when we say that the CDF Act shall be divided equally amongst all constituencies, then there's fairness. Or counties, then there's fairness.
Currently,
yes,
constituencies are based on a minimum number of people.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the population is at a minimum.
Yes.
So you want it to have a minimum and a maximum. So I say a constituency shall not have more than X number of residents.
Yes.
And if there's X number of residents, then they move into the next.
Alternatively,
because this is what happens with the ward.
Alternatively, then you say that when you're distributing these finances, then we shall look at the number of the people in that constituency. Then we shall prorate it.
Okay.
So
you weight it according to the number.
You weight it according to the number of people within the constituency.
But development is not only about humans.
It is largely about humans.
It's also about everything else. Yeah, there's humans, but the humans, for example, in a constituency like the one for the guest that we had the other day from Wajir, Adan Kainan's constituency, right? It's larger than Kiambu County plus Murang'a County combined. It's one constituency.
You see, you must look at the parameters of development and parameters that guide the division of money in the government. The funds that we're talking about, if the government decides to do a road from Garissa to whatever it is, or from Isiolo to Marsabit, for instance, that money is not in these funds, and that is not the money we're talking about. The infrastructural development that belongs to the county government and the infrastructural development that belongs to the national government is not part of this conversation that we're talking about. And you must also understand that even those counties, when we're talking about the vastness of the counties or those sub-counties, we have an equalization fund. And the work of that equalization fund is to make sure that these constituencies that may have this number of the larger, or they might be more vast than others, then they benefit from that.
You get those that were historically marginalized.
Exactly.
But
then
however,
you also need to.
However, Mheshimiwa, this fund has never been operationalized.
Well,
we have 7 years to go,
and we have been given 20. Are we at 14 already? At 13? Yeah, from 2023, from 2020 to 2030. But you see, even within if you see the distribution of the county, of the funds that go to the counties now, and I think it's 227. Yeah.
And the county allocation of revenue.
Yeah, county allocation of revenue. Then the vastness of those counties are also considered.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So there's a lot of, and it is good. But in the effort to compensate and have parity, then we have done it the other way, and we have now started. Actually, if you look at the definition of marginalized, you realize that we have people within Gatundu South who are marginalized. I mean, because it is about your ability as a person to afford education. If you're telling me that I have ability to afford, but I live in Wajir, let's say, for instance, and I have someone who really has no means of educating their children, but they're within Gatundu South, but those people are not considered. Nobody cares about you. Nobody wants to. That money that should have been allocated to you is not anywhere. And you see now, if you look at the marginalization within the Act, sorry, just a minute, it talks about places that were actually uses the word traditionally marginalized areas. But you see, a lot of things have changed since then. There's no banditry that used to be in some places where people now would be disadvantaged because they cannot go to school and such things. Now, with the devolution, we're supposed now to take care of our own areas. And we have this money that comes, we have the challenges that I have had in the news just now with the county governments and the Council of Governors. But you see, that's just a hitch that we're going to correct within this budget period. But in perpetuity, then we have people from highly concentrated areas suffering at the expense of the sparsely populated areas, and that is what we want to fix. We are not talking.
No, but that is not a true statement, Mheshimiwa. They are not suffering. No, it isn't. They are not suffering at the expense
of.
No.
It is at the expense. We only have one consolidated fund.
Let me explain to you why I'm saying they are not suffering at the expense. Your early argument got to the heart of the matter when you talked about marginalization and understanding what the concept actually means. Now, you see, the people who determined how revenue should be allocated were considering what we call historical marginalization, meaning certain areas of this, and by the way, they're not even historical, it was policy that development would not really focus in certain areas and would focus in others. It was policy.
Yep.
Now, that was the discussion that brought about things like the equalization fund. Now, the problem you're talking about now comes with what we call the implementation of our constitution. We have a constitution, these things were written, we had a commission that was set up to actually now breathe life into this thing. Now, breathing life would have meant dealing with the same issues that you now have, because members of parliament say, this marginalization thing, we get it, but as our cities have grown, we have large populations of people who are marginalized. As the satellite counties and cities around Nairobi have also grown, this same problem is there. Now, that discussion would have catered for them. So, you who is in parliament and the people with you still have the power to rectify this thing that we're talking about. That's what you guys are there for.
Legislation is not just done on the floor of the house. There is something we call public participation, and what we were doing on Friday is public participation. Is engaging the public and asking them so that the information that I take to Parliament is not based on what I think in my head. Well, there's part of that, but then largely, and this is the Constitution, we should consult with those people. So you need to engage the public, get the mood of the public, get to understand whether what I'm saying is actually the mood of the public. And you have for yourselves. It is the mood of the public that we need to have that rationalization. Because when you go to Parliament, what is going to inform even the support that you get in Parliament? You see, we can't just sit and just do documents. They will not be looked at. What is going to inform the support of that document, for example, that we are likely to bring on the issue of 1 man, 1 shilling, is the public participation and the publicity that we created around that area, so that people, we get people to understand the issues around it, even other fellow members of Parliament. Okay. And I would expect to get support even from those members from those counties that have been benefiting from this in perpetuity, because I would believe that they also want parity for other Kenyans.
Okay, so do you feel, because obviously you seem to be stuck hard and fast to this. So if this is the case, then would students who are Kiambu residents, should they also, and they happen to be going to school in other parts of the country, should they also come back and go to school only in Kiambu County? And should it then be a rule of law, should be accepted across board that they should not go to school anywhere else except in Kiambu County, where provision has been made for them?
By the way, this is not even a very unique or new case. In China, if you come from
Kiambu County,
let me just finish. We always look at things from perspective and we in comparatively. In China, when you live in Guangzhou and you want to go to school in another province, even your school fees is higher. In America, you only go to school if you live in Boston and maybe you live in a certain neighborhood. You only go to school within that neighborhood, right?
Do you know why?
And wait a minute, I'm coming to it. And I know the issues around it. So I'm saying it's not something that is very.
It's not unique.
It's not unique, and it's not very.
It's not a new
it
idea.
just depends on how we formulate our own. So that we say in Kiambu, we have this number of students. This is our population. These are our schools' needs. And then we create them.
But the why is extremely important. Those examples that you've given of China, of the United States, for example, the system has been created in such a way that it doesn't matter where it is that you live. The public system has been guaranteed to deliver quality education.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
In every area. My question was, are you then saying that Kiambu resident students who go to other schools outside of Kiambu County should also come back to Kiambu County?
That's what I'm saying. So
they should.
So you move the ones who are here and you create. You see what I'm saying?
No, I really don't.
No, what you're saying now.
Just a minute, sit. Let me explain it to you. What you're saying is the point of devolution, for instance, was to create parity across the country. That is why every year we allocate money and send it to counties, so that we identify our development infrastructure that we need for the people to cater for our people. We establish it, and over time, then we shall be sufficient.
Who's responsible for establishing schools in the country?
Is the Ministry. Well, you see now, the problem is that it's supposed to be the Ministry of Education, and that brings us to another conversation of why you've had a lot of people trying to fight the NGCDF and saying, it's about members of parliament. But why, for example, would I be giving bursary? I give bursary because the Ministry of Education should have identified the students who are incapable of paying for their bursaries and probably created a way within the ministry to cater for it. I want to tell you the things that we do with CDF, for instance. I'll go and build a police station because there is insecurity in a certain area, and the members have said that now we have insecurity here, establish a police station or a police post. This should have essentially been the work of national government, maybe interior
and public works,
whatever it is, to do that. But there's the law as it is, and the law as we would want to be the reality on the ground. So on the ground, it is that a lot of our infrastructure has not been working, and specifically so because there are people who do not want things to work because they benefit from them. That is why when you give money to devolution, then people do not, then counties do not use their money the way they should, because essentially or traditionally it has been that we are marginalized, and it will continue like that even after 10-13 years of devolved fund and equalization and funds that are considered for that inequalities. So what we're saying is, over time, and this may not happen tomorrow, but over time what we need to do is establish that children from Kiambu County, a child from Garissa County is able to be born in Garissa County and go to school there and enjoy quality education like someone who is in Kiambu and someone who is in Nairobi.
I want you to define something for me, because as you're speaking, there's something which I don't have with clarity. When you say residents of Kiambu, who qualifies to be a resident?
I mean, you every Kenyan qualifies to be a resident in Kiambu.
So you're saying the hodgepodge mixture of people who have worked in Kiambu, lived, not necessarily indigenous to Kiambu.
Not necessarily.
But they are
residents.
But there are people who've worked there, who've lived there, who have grown up there, they're residents.
Yes.
And these things should benefit them.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. If you're born in Kisumu, for instance, and at some point in your life you came and started living in Nairobi and in Kiambu, and then you're a resident of Kiambu. This is not about tribalism. This is not about the indigenous.
So you could be a resident of Kiambu, but you still vote in Kisumu. Are you?
No, you're not a resident of Kiambu. By residents, we look at
the voter.
At the voter, yes. At the voter. And that's why when we're giving bursary, we look at the people who voted.
I hear what you said, Mheshimiwa, but I think the bigger conversation here is about the equity in our public school system. Because if you look at these 28 Gatundu South secondary schools, none of them is a national school. Only 3 are extra county schools. The others are county and sub-county schools.
Yes.
You should be confident in making sure that whether a child scored 380, whatever school they go to within Gatundu South constituency, they are getting the same quality of education as those 2,500 children who are in Mangu High School.
That's exactly what I said. And I said that we want to establish a system.
So it doesn't matter where that child has come from.
So that we stop this stampede and this scrabble for some schools. In some areas you find even people in very high offices, you go to some offices, you find the principal's office has a queue.
So you wouldn't be opposed to the decategorization of schools?
So equalize all these schools.
You wouldn't be.
I wouldn't be.
Equalize all the schools.
Give us the resources that are commensurate to our people. Because you see, when I go to Parliament, I go and represent the people of Gatundu South, and they have numbers. And so, therefore, I wouldn't be opposed to delocalization and do categorization of schools.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. We've heard you. We wanted to hear you. We wanted to understand exactly where you're coming from, and now we do. We at least have a bit of clarity on what exactly you meant. The Honourable Gigi Kagombe is the Member of Parliament for Gatundu South constituency. So on this conversation about one man, one vote, one shilling, it's now starting to come up again. And so we have also invited the Honourable Gathoni Wamushomba to come tomorrow because she is spearheading that conversation in Parliament. We want to understand it as well.
Thank you very
much. Good morning.
Much.
Keep it here for more. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. I start with a sad story of a mother who is under custody after killing her 2-year-old child in Kitengela, Kajiado County. In a video that has been circulating online, the 27-year-old woman identified as Olivia Naseren is seen killing his son by stabbing him and killing him instantly while singing. Neighbors who tried to break the door could only watch after the attempts to break the door proved futile. Listening.
Olivia, stop! 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 Olivia, stop!
Neighbors said that she started by breaking household items including televisions. Later it is reported that the woman removed the child's organs and ate them before losing consciousness. Police officers managed to access the house before taking her to hospital. According to neighbors, the woman is a university student and had broken up with her boyfriend. Now, the Mombasa Disaster Management Committee is calling on well-wishers to come to the rescue of over 1,600 people who have been affected by floods. An outbreak of the deadly rotavirus disease has been reported after 10 people, 7 males and 3 females died. And the National Transport and Safety Authority Director General George Njau has been sent on a 30-day compulsory leave by the board over the rising numbers of road accidents in the country. The board chairperson Aden Noor Ali, who announced a raft of measures to restore safety and sanity on the roads, has appointed Cosmas Ngeso to take over in an acting capacity. The move, the authority, which has been in the spotlight, says is meant to pave way for investigations amid growing concerns. It comes barely a week after the cabinet directed the Ministries of Transport and Interior to take remedial action and contain rising fatal crashes. At the same time, the licenses of PSV operators involved in the recent accidents this month have been suspended with immediate effect. Now, Kenya is keen on investing in the manufacturing of medical supplies. President William Ruto said there is immense opportunity for investment in the sector. He regretted that local pharmaceuticals and medical consumables account for a paltry 20%. He said the government will take measures to make Kenya the region's pharmaceutical manufacturing hub. The domestic market for pharmaceutical and medical consumables is estimated at 110 billion shillings a year. President Ruto, during the commissioning of CyberKnife Center at the Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital in Kiambu County, said the CyberKnife, the second of its kind in the continent after Egypt, will revolutionize cancer treatment not only in Kenya but also in the region. And Kenya has launched an operation to evacuate its citizens from Sudan due to the ongoing conflict between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, which has now entered its second week. Kenya now joins other countries including the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany and Canada, who have already evacuated some of their citizens. Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua announced that neighboring countries including South Sudan, Ethiopia, Egypt and Saudi Arabia have granted permission for Kenyan planes to overfly the airspace to evacuate stranded Kenyans in Sudan. And the Azimia Coalition says the anti-government protest will resume in Nairobi from next week Tuesday. Wycliffe Oparanya attributed the return due to Kenya Kwanza's inability to hold productive bipartisan talks. And the Institute of Consumer Experience says it's keen to work with the government in improving customer service in all state departments. While lauding the expansion of Huduma centers across the country, the institute noted that there was room for improvement as more people sought services from the government agencies. This came as the ICX noted that the sector was on its way to full recovery after the COVID-19 pandemic that wreaked havoc in nearly all sectors. According to Sheila Mugazi, a board member with the institute, certification remained one of the major challenges facing the sector. And Kenya and Zambia share similar historical and political transformation backgrounds that must be nurtured into a realization of a new Africa drawn from the colonial era as experienced by the founding fathers of the two nations, Kenneth David Kaunda and Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. This is according to National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula. As such, Wetangula has called for enhanced diplomacy between African parliaments, saying the pulling together as African legislators will boost the region's legislation agenda, leading to strategic development. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
For now, we'll remain in Nairobi where there's traffic on the Thika Superhighway. Coming into the city is where you'll see the most of it today. In and outbound traffic coming from Gong Road and then going towards Haile Selassie. Coming in from Landis is very, very heavy. Bumper to bumper all the way through to the roundabout at Kamkunji. So that's going to continue for some time. It's coming off of Jogo Road, which is heavy connecting from Outer Ring. All right. We're also looking at it heavy. Who's this? It's James Gisher, and it's spilling over towards Waiaki Way. The Red Hill Link Road touches with Lower Kabete Road, and there's all sorts of traffic as you head out towards the Limuru Road, coming in from Gigiri, etc., etc. It's a mess this morning. The rain coming down is slowing things down considerably as well, so you want to watch out for that. It's slippery, so please be careful. North Airport Road has packed up in and outbound traffic, heads out towards Embakasi and then through towards Outer Ring on one side and then towards the Eastern Bypass on the other. So keep a watch for what's going on where you are. Getting traffic out proper. Talk to us on Spice FM, KE on Twitter as we try to keep things moving this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
How you doing? Welcome to the third of Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room. What's the situation like for you in terms of home ownership? Are you somewhere? Are you on cause? Are you like a 3-house owner? Are you a 1-house owner? Are you a 0-house owner? Would you like to own a house? Well, Centum Real Estate are telling you, well, it's possible and it's very easy. In fact, we're putting up some very beautiful development in Vipingo, Kilifi County. It's Vipingo development by Centum Real Estate, just by the road and Vipingo. Remember that whole rare Vipingo farm? So it was taken up by Centum Real Estate, multi-use development, very many things coming up, but they've started with, first of all, just the houses. First phase had 500 homes. They built, they delivered, people are already living there. Second phase, with X number of homes, already coming up. And Centum Real Estate is saying, would you like to own one of these? Please come, talk to us. You can own a home, an apartment from as low as 1.98 million shillings with a deposit of 10%. That's about 198,000 bob. Come, begin this journey. Put the deposit and then we talk about the repayment plans as the construction progresses. 0740 400-215, 0740-400-215. Call them, Centum Real Estate, or you can also text them, SMS the word Vipingo to 22365. That's 22365, right? Vipingo. They'll get back to you with more information. Siti, as we're waiting for the next guests, who is Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, the current CEO of the Music Copyright Society of Kenya, but the immediate former CEO, or not the immediate former CEO of the Film Classification Board. He was at that time dealing with this matter of this Pastor Mackenzie of Malindi, and he dealt with him, and he's coming to tell us the history of engaging with this pastor. But as he gets here, you heard what the Honorable Gigi Kagombo was saying, City.
I did.
And what he was talking about. What is he saying that he did not say?
You know, what he is saying, which he did not say, he wants to establish himself as a leader who looks after the interest of his people. And interest, he has chosen education as a vehicle. And he's looking at what one may refer to as an equitable opportunity for people whom he considers residents. But he clarified what he meant by residents. People who have settled, live and work in Gatundu South. Now, anyone who knows anything about Kiambu County will tell you that is a place where people are quite wonderfully mixed. Very many communities have made Kiambu their home. Very many.
Non-Africans.
Let me repeat again. Very many. A diversity of humanity. Kenyans have actually made Kiambu their home. Now, what Mheshimiwa was also not telling us was that even as he propagates this message that is intended to help his people, there's an absence of clarity that could easily lead to a misunderstanding of what he's saying. Because if you don't clarify certain things and you don't give them perspective, then you open it up for any interpretation that somebody may choose. And more often than not, people will choose the worst possible interpretation that they like or they would prefer. But the thing that I liked about what he was saying was this. The need for leaders in whichever constituency or county they come from to take the responsibility of looking after the interests of their people. And starting with the interest of the younger population who are your students. That, to me, rang true. Why is it that we find the disparity in counties, and yet, as he put it, people get the same money.
Yeah.
Why?
Sure. I mean,
now, what he didn't say also, that the county he speaks of, for the longest time, had a disproportionate advantage over very many other counties or regions in this, even when it was a district. And part of the reason was simply this. The founding father came from Kiambu. At a certain point, I remember in those days, to be president, you had to be an MP. Then after being MP, you'd be minister or president. They had a disproportionate number of even ministers, 7 in total, from Kiambu. Now, the disproportionate nature began with the colonialists. It's a long history, but list those who set up the constitution and things like the equalization fund took all these things into consideration.
Yeah.
But now, the responsibility of making sure that your people benefit and that you put them at the forefront of your interest. Yes.
This is where it comes in. And I think just hearing this on the matter of education, if you just want to focus on education alone, this is what we've been talking about for a long time here. Why should a school called Koraiha Secondary School, which is next to Mangu High School, why should they be different?
Yes. And very different at that.
Yes. If we are talking about all these students, for example, from Gatondo South, who went to schools, primary schools in Gatondo South, they studied in Gatondo South, but when it comes to going to secondary school, then they're just flung left, right, and center. You are going to a school called an extra county school.
Yes.
You are going to a school called a national school. You are going to a school called, and the difference is huge in terms of the facilities, the quality of teachers, the quality of education being delivered in those schools is different. If we just said that this one is a national school or this one is a science-based school, just like you did with the A-levels,
yes,
there are those who went to schools that are more focusing on science, and others who went to others that one. But you knew the quality that you will get here is only that it's a focus in teaching is science. But quality is the same.
Actually,
across all the A levels, secondary school, the high schools.
True.
Nowadays, we talk about all this. If you go to a day school, then you know your goose is cooked.
You're done.
You have to walk a longer journey to be able to get that
much
C.
Longer journey.
That C, for you to actually get the C grade to qualify for university admission, you have to walk a longer journey than the one who went to an extra county, that from a provincial or a national school. That should be the conversation. Equalize all the schools.
Actually, yes, essentially saying decategorize them.
Yeah.
And ensure that they all have... You see, why do you think that people from other counties rush to other schools? Usually it's because one looks at not the school, but the results they produce. And they figure, here, my child may get a good opportunity.
This is it.
Yes. And yet, that could be done for all the schools. So you don't really fear. If it's a school next door to you, you know my child will get a good education. So, now, when you talked about an earlier time when schools, more or less, were within walking distance, but that is what was guaranteed.
Yep.
You didn't mind where your child went to school. You knew you'd get the same education.
Yep.
Yes.
And quality at that.
You knew. Yes.
Yeah. Our guest is in the studio. Dr. Ezekiel Mutua is the current CEO of the Music Copyright Society of Kenya. He is a former CEO of the Kenya Film Classification Board, and the last time he was here, he was KFCB. Welcome, Dr. Eric.
Thank you, Eric. City,
how are you, sir?
Good to see all of you.
No, good to see you,
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, sir, but it's nice to see you.
I'm happy that I found relevance, finally.
You've always had relevance.
Thank you.
Always.
But I've not been here for quite some time.
Well,
I thought it's because I lost relevance.
Let's give you a perspective.
Yeah.
Okay? You are a man who understands the Bible. When Jesus turned water into wine, was it at the beginning of the feast or was it at the end of the feast? Okay.
In this country,
I think
the moment you become aliyekuwa, the moment you start being addressed as former this, former that,
Story question.
Your goose is cooked.
It gets worse when they start saying one time.
One time.
So like you never existed. Aliyekuwa.
Mheshimiwa, you are relevant. And
Thank
I'm
you.
calling you Mheshimiwa knowing full well you're not a member of parliament, lakini when you unaheshimiwa.
Asante City.
Yes.
Hey, getting that from an elder.
Yes.
Academia. That is quite something. You've made my morning.
Asante sana. Yes.
How is my lady from Nigeria?
She's very fine, thank you.
You're okay? You can pass through the customs and...
Well, they haven't kicked me out. They haven't kicked me out yet.
You're Kenyan. Very good.
She's home.
Kabisa.
Dr. Mutua, now, this matter of this church.
The Shakahola massacre.
Yeah.
Because it is a massacre.
Because this is what it is.
Yeah.
When the story started coming out a couple of days ago, in terms of, some 2 children have been found having starved to death, and their mother had locked them in a room because she's following what has been preached by this man. And then the story started coming out of other people. You're among the people who took to Twitter and said, when I was at KFCB, we had dealt with this particular preacher.
Yes.
And you said that he used to run a TV station, and you looked at the content of that TV station and many other things, and you said there's an issue here. Give us that background.
This story started, or interaction with Mackenzie and the Good News International Church, started in 2018 when we flagged some content from his TV that was horrifying. Teachings that were radicalizing the faithful, teachings that bordered on terrorism, really, and were contradicting government policy, contradicting the law, the constitution, teachings that taught people not to go to school, not to take medicine when they're unwell, or to go to hospital. And our role as a regulator was to ensure that what people consume, we vet the suitability. And so if you are now communicating that to the public through a national frequency given to you, there's a responsibility. So we flagged out that. But when we realized that the teachings were dangerous and could lead to, people hurting themselves, whether taking their lives or failing to eat or not going to school or not obeying government policy, we thought we needed to involve the investigative agencies to look into the matter. So we enlisted the support of the anti-terror unit and the DCI in Malindi. At that time, Pastor Mackenzie was based in Malindi, and the church was growing. And we confiscated. We rented the studios in the church, confiscated the cameras, the equipment, the broadcast equipment, and subjected them to examination and classification as per the KFCB regulations and mandate. Some of the classifiable elements that we used to look at in our work for vetting suitability or determining the age appropriateness of our program were things like horror, occultism, nudity, obscenity, vulgarity, profanity, drugs, and so on. And so occultism came into play. And remember, we were very scientific in the manner in which we did it, the frequency and the intensity of these classifiable elements. So if somebody is teaching frequently and in a manner likely to radicalize, and it's frequent, it is intense, it is explosive, we subjected to the government agencies that could investigate and find out, is there something more to it? Because our role was limited to the regulation of the broadcast content. But could there be people who are dying out of this? Could there be people who have left school? And how does this argue with development and government policy? This is a Kenyan preacher, a televangelist, operating on using a national frequency. And remember, national frequency is not personal. Frequencies are not personal resources. These are national resources given to you in custody, to keep in custody for the public. So we held him accountable. We demanded for accountability. We eventually took him to court. But was given a part and released with 10,000 bond. Yeah.
Can I take a few steps back?
Yes.
Based on what you've said, and this was years ago. How many years are we talking about now?
This is about 6 years.
6 years ago, 2018.
Yes.
Isn't it? So at that time, he was already, showing some signs.
Absolutely.
There were some signs, which clearly, and they were in the open. They were public. These are not the buried bodies that we're talking about today.
No, that time it was clear this is a radicalization program.
And you pointed this out.
Yes.
And you asked the help of the investigative authorities.
Including the anti-terror police unit.
And they knew. Did they also confirm that there was some worrisome behavior here?
Yes. In fact, we got a lot of cooperation, support. I remember a DCI officer who would even fly to Nairobi to my office when I couldn't go to Malindi, because I had assigned this to our regional, our coast region manager, a guy called Bonvenja Kioko, who is very learned and very thorough. He's a journalist, so investigated and he worked very well with the media. So we also involved the media, by the way. These are stories that were covered, and we did it openly in a very transparent manner. What made me send the tweet that I did is the sheer lack of shame on part of government officials who looked the other way. It's a sheer lack of shame on the judiciary that presented with incontrovertible evidence that this is murder, that this is dangerous, just gave a fine of 10,000 and released this guy, and he continued. We arrested him again, and we have been in court with that guy. I'm told, yesterday I contacted KFCB, and I'm told the matter is still in court. KFCB never relented, but other people looked the other way. Government officials were either duped, they connived, or they were compromised.
Which government officials, though?
It's a part of the ecosystem.
Because you've just said you were a government official,
yes.
KFCB.
Yeah.
Anti-terror police was government. DCI was government.
Yeah.
The prosecutor was government. All those took them to the judiciary. He was charged based on what was presented before the judicial officer. The person was released as required by law, as expected. He was released on a cash bail. As the case progresses, who are you saying dropped the ball?
Eric, there is no way that this case could have led to the number of deaths that we are seeing without the government knowing. There are assistant chiefs, there are chiefs, there is community policing, there are nyumba kumi. There is no way a massacre of this magnitude, deaths of this kind, where people are indoctrinated and they are taken to the forest. There are leaders there. There are government structures there. And I refuse to believe that nobody knew. I have said our role was limited to regulating the broadcast content going to the public. But all that other infrastructure, including the politicians and the leadership of the county, somebody somewhere slept on the job.
But you raised the flag and you said, look, there's something going on here. Now, this court case...
And you see, if I can just to add on what you're saying, I during my time at KFCB, we took a very different approach to government function duties. Not just rating and classifying films, because that's a primary mandate and very simple. To rate GE, PG, the easiest of job. We decided to raise awareness, to create awareness, to work with the people, and to involve the other agencies. And so we worked with a lot of people, Eric. That's why I was saying somebody dropped the ball deliberately. I'm sure in the fullness of time, when this matter is investigated, we'll get to know. And it's horrifying. It is not something that we can just assume it was okay. And this guy was not operating from the outer space. Like I've said, there's county government, there are administrative structures. Somebody somewhere should have known. How I wish my role extended beyond just regulating the films. Honestly.
Sure.
I wish I saved one life.
So moving to... again, you did raise the flag, and here you are saying that you hoped that the role would have expanded to something else. So those then who serve in a prosecutorial position then took up the case and charged him in court. I'm curious as to, and need to maybe look at the details, what were the charges for which then he was granted this 10,000 shillings bail? And what are the charges today for which this case is still in court?
I think there are quite a number of things that we need to point out. Some of it just sheer inefficiency on the part of the prosecutorial process. And that speaks about the need for probably agencies like Kenya Film Classification Board to have their own prosecutorial powers and their own prosecutors and investigative agencies or support to be able to prosecute the matter. Because it's not just in the case of Mackenzie. There are quite a number of cases where we felt we could have gone further and do a better job. There was ignorance. You'd encounter ignorance from the public itself, from government officials, from the police. You'd encounter ignorance of the law and the understanding of this occultism and how it operates, even from the judiciary. And it's not just in the case of Mackenzie, like I've said, even right now where I am in matters of copyright. You go to a judge who is wondering, did somebody steal your CD? So what is this? That they banned you. What is this banning? So you still have your original. What is the issue? And they get away with this, and you find a judge dismissing. Where I am right now, I'm dealing with that magnitude of ignorance, where an institution like NCA, which is a private company, but you cannot see police don't understand their role, the judiciary doesn't understand their role, and you wonder why Is it that people are deliberately looking the other way? Is it that we fail to take our job seriously and invest in education to understand the spheres of influence that we have so that we can do a better job? And I tend to think it is laziness, lack of imagination and creativity in the execution of our duties as government officials.
What among all those things that Pastor Mackenzie was preaching, what alarmed you about him? Why did you pick on this particular channel that is preaching this and not all these other many channels that have preachers on?
The one on education and telling people not to go to the hospital was alarming, because there were clear cases of people who can see this emaciated, this could die, and he's preaching to them, and you can see somehow they seem to have been hypnotized into believing that this is their Messiah, and was concentrating on heresy about the end time and Jesus coming soon. And these people, and you remember the issues of marginalization and poverty in the coast, and the hopelessness among some of the people, and the general breakdown of the moral fiber in the country. It is very easy for some of these conmen and the quacks, charlatans in the religious sector, who pray and take advantage of the poverty and the vulnerability and gullibility of Kenyans, particularly when it comes to matters of faith. And remember, some of those communities are very superstitious. So they deal with the witchcraft and other challenges. And so when the chips are down and things are not working, you have gone to school, you have a degree, nothing is working for you, and you think you are bewitched. It's very easy for someone like that to take advantage. So it's not just these agencies of the government to blame. There is a failure of leadership in so many levels that has led to this situation where people are hopeless and they can be taken advantage of.
So your entry was the occultism.
It was occultism because it is part of the classifiable elements that we look at.
What is occultism? How is it defined in law?
It is, for example, if you profess miracles and you claim that you have healed somebody, a cripple,
right?
If that miracle cannot pass muster in terms of science and medical evidence, we would question it. Because why don't you go to Kenyatta National Hospital and heal the people who are sick and dying?
Sure.
If you are raising the dead, why don't you go to the mortuary? So some of these things were like, keep them in the church. If people come to your church and believe that, it's okay. But if you want to bring them to the public through your broadcast, we have a role. Because what we are saying is, if you don't self-regulate, you're inviting government regulation.
So how many others did you, in your time as KFCB, how many others did you raise?
I had about 7, by the way. And it was even a challenge for me because as a born-again Christian, I was even accused of trying to regulate the church. I remember that time myself and Professor Gidu Muingai were actually targeted. It was like there's a sense in which matters of faith and the church should be left alone. But I was like, this is a new phenomena of digital TV, and there were so many of them that were coming up that were not falling within the mainstream regulation by even the Media Council, because they are operating on the digital space, and some of them were new. We didn't know there was some dealing with science, others dealing with agriculture, and so there was no sufficient structures to regulate them. So what alarmed me was some of these miracles, because you see people rolling on the floor, others being slapped very hard, others drinking stuff that you could say this is concoction, it's poisonous, and I'm like, why? What led into this? However, if it is their faith, it's okay. But you want to bring it to the masses as the way of life.
So the problem is when it comes for you. The problem is when it comes to broadcasting it.
Yes. That was my mandate. Obviously, I had bigger problems, and I would have gone further. But I was restricted to my mandate. I raised it with the other government agencies, and we raised awareness. We worked with the parents. We worked with the schools. We even took over the Kenya National Drama and Film Festival, because some of these things were also nuances were being also passed through the school system. Somebody acting as kids. And it looks okay, but you can see they're passing a message that is misleading. And ours was to deal with the misleading information passed to the public.
Dr. Mutua, did you raise issue with even the mainstream media, who would host a preacher who do the same things?
Absolutely. Not only
running
that,
a crusade.
Do you know, I
where
took
they're
it
saying
upon
they're
myself even
healing
to
the
attend
sick.
some of those crusades. I have attended even Prophet Wall's crusade, and I've never seen masses like those. I took it upon myself to interact with them and to try, as a government official, to understand where you're coming from. Where are all these people here washing streets and believing in you? And then I try to interact. Like I've told you, I'm a Christian, and I didn't want to divorce the elements of faith from my work. I wanted to understand where is the nexus. So I got involved, and that's why I'm telling you, we worked with the churches, we worked with the schools, we worked with other government agencies, and we tried to invest. We put a lot of money in the Kenya National Drama and Film Festival because we realized it's a systemic societal problem. It is not just something that you pick when you're grown up. It is indoctrination from the childhood, from ECD. And we decided to interact with them at that level. And the program was themed identifying and nurturing talent while promoting moral responsibility. The whole idea was to educate the trainers of trainers, directors of films, and the actors to understand the responsibility they have and the power of content in shaping societal values. And I think we did a good job of it. We may not have succeeded, but we tried during my time, and I can see KFCB still doing it. I'm very pleased with what they are doing. But I think they need to be given more money for sensitization, because if you just stick to the area of rating and classifying films, that is so simplistic. In fact, the question I kept asking, did you ever imagine, as you know, and involve academia and other people and the psychologists, to ask yourself, why do you exist as KFCB? Why do you rate and classify films? And we would sit in a boardroom and we came up with the reasoning, the objectivity, the objective for it, which is to ensure to rate and classify broadcast content and films to ensure that they conform to the Kenyan Constitution, Kenyan culture, values, and national aspirations. Those were things that came out of a boardroom discussions. Because we're like, it's like you are given a role to manufacture guns, and you're just manufacturing guns, and you don't ask yourself, what for? Is there war? Why are we manufacturing guns? And this is how governments operate, by the way. I can tell you the level of lack of imagination, the sheer lack of shame in some government offices should really annoy you.
Let's take a break on this note. 24 minutes to 9. Dr. Ezekiel Mutua is the current CEO of the Music Copyright Society of Kenya. He is a former CEO of the Kenya Film Classification Board. He's now giving us his context on how many times he dealt with Pastor Paul Mackenzie. He tells us from 2018, he started engaging with the issue of Pastor Paul Mackenzie and the Good News International Church, and going to the extent of actually making sure that TV that he was operating then is pulled off here. So we'll continue this conversation shortly. Okay, let's talk about other clean content that I'm sure you'd have, if you had seen it even then, you'd have said, this one is good. Tell him.
Second Family. So there's a story. It's a story, and I know you like stories, Doc. Leo Langat, wealthy businessman.
Yes.
And unfortunately, he dies. This is where the story starts.
Yes.
After his death, somebody then came up and said, actually, I'm his child.
Yes.
Second Family comes out, and then this whole story starts about how who owns what and who wants what, business, blood, fights, etc., etc. Great story. It's on Showmax.
Yes.
Showmax.com. It's Kenya's first telenovela. In fact, you'd have given it the tick, 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 go. Kenya's first telenovela has aired on Showmax, 3 episodes every week. Showmax.com. Log in, pay, watch.
Also, an opportunity for you to call Kingdom Bank this morning, 0709 881300. That's 0709 881300. Or walk into Kingdom Bank and tell them, Niko na pesa, I have some 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, 71,235 and 16 cents. Walk into the bank with that money. They'll tell you, all right, weka here. If you put it in a fixed deposit account, 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, it earns up to 10% interest. If you put it in a savings account, or you can open a junior savings account for your children, it'll earn interest. Walk into Kingdom Bank today and say, nataka kusonga mbele na Kingdom Bank. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
London Mulwa DJ Absolute. When the gang is together.
Got the sugar, got the spice.
Yorada.
Yes.
I have missed you like hot hamburgers. Eh?
Like hot hamburgers.
You know, bad boys give more money than you can count.
Hey, bad boys give more money than you can count. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock, but if I were you, I'd tune in to
Sugar and Spice only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
News in Nairobi, we'll see highs of 22 and we'll see highs of 24 in Nakuru. 23 will be the high in Nyeri and 24 in Eldoret. All right, into Mombasa, we'll see highs of 31 as well. We'll see in Malindi where it's sunny at 29. It's 21 and sunny in Kisumu, 19 and cloudy in Kakamega. Kampala is cloudy at 19 after the rain and it's sunny at 27 in Dar es Salaam, 15 and sunny in Johannesburg and clear at 26 in Lagos. It's mostly cloudy at 24 in Kinshasa.
Spice up your life.
Heavy traffic in the CBD this morning. It's coming off the Thika Superhighway. It's also coming off Uhuru Highway, just after the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. Jogo Road was busy from 6 a.m. And we're looking at that spillover towards Landis and out towards Kamkunji. A little bit here and there on Gong Road, but nothing too much. Gitanga Road is going to go through towards James Gishoro, which will now spill over towards Wayakiwe. The Red Hill Link Road, which should be your free pass, is busy. Inbound traffic is bumper to bumper. Folks running away from the bumper to bumper traffic that is on Wayakiwe this morning. And we're also looking at United Nations Avenue, packed coming in from Ruaka. It's heavy coming in from Kitisuru, past the village market and onto Limuru Road. And so we're looking at the Northern Bypass as well. Very heavy traffic in upper and lower Runda, as it were. Okay, Spice FM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there. Let's keep things moving this morning.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done
Conversation continues.
94.4 Spice FM.
The headline in the Standard: Cult Massacre. It's basically looking at, the story of what's unfolding at Shakahola Forest in Kilifi County. More than 70 bodies of cult victims dug up in graves on the land said to belong to this Pastor Paul Mackenzie. We have in the studio this morning Dr. Ezekiel Mutua. He is a former CEO of the Kenya Film Classification Board. At that point, he dealt with this particular church and he raised concerns about this church. And Dr. you're saying many people dropped the ball. If you look at what happened then and what has happened now, it's about very many people dropping the ball. City, do you agree?
The balls were dropped. But the question I want to ask is at what point? Because the individuals that we have encountered in this saga all seem to subscribe to the Christian faith or did at some point or the other. Now, one of the things that guarantees that somebody can be misled is if they're ill-informed or they believe in something which is incomplete. Now, many people who subscribe to the Christian faith, oddly enough, subscribe to the pastor, not to the word of God. So when the pastor becomes the man of God, then you already have a problem. Because that is the person, what the person says is what you believe. Now, dropping the ball, when you look at how it is, churches sprout up and people say it is a good thing, people believe there's faith. Now, when do you raise the alarm? Forget the red flag. When do you say things are going wrong? We have churches that advertise almost on a weekly basis. Come at 10:30 for your miracle. Really? So if I come at 10:30, I'll get my miracle.
And if you're late?
If you're late, sorry. You come next week at 10:30 so that your miracle can arrive. So what I'm trying to say is, very many churches that come up have messages that are alluring, but they're misleading. So when should the alarm be raised? At the point where you see this being stated, at the point where clearly somebody is on TV every day and it is in the public, and that person is not preaching anything that is related to the Bible at all. They're just telling you stories about themselves. Throw in a few Bible verses here and continue. And there are people in those churches. Now, my question is, the discussion around this has been, regulate. Everybody has had something to say on this matter. So, if you regulate, what then do you do? Before you came in, Dr. we had discussed this earlier, and I said, as far as I'm concerned, those who subscribe to the Christian faith and those who have leadership and who say they have a calling, this problem falls squarely on them. Me, I'm not even thinking of government agencies, because these cults, these breakaway faiths that we what is it that leads to them? There are many breakaway churches that are sensible, sane. There's nothing you can say is untoward.
City, let me cut you short. In matters of faith,
yes,
and media, particularly media, I advocate for self-regulation. But where self-regulation fails, the government must come in. Failure to self-regulate, to set your own structures, to have minimum standards, a code of ethics that you subscribe to, and that all of us agree. Because if you call yourself a profession or a sector, then there must be some minimum standards. You cannot have any sector that is unregulated.
Does the Christian church have such a setup?
There should be a setup, because they are registered, first of all, for you to be called a church.
Let me ask the question again. Yeah. Does the Christian church have such a setup? You're a Christian.
You would want to imagine that a National Council of Churches, for instance, would have some role to play. The Evangelical Alliance, and there are so many other denominational setups, actually with even umbrella national bodies. And I see this when they're planning meetings, that all these people come together. When I was at Kenya Film Classification Board, we reached out to all of them. We were working with the archbishops, we were working with the leaders of these churches, and we brought these matters to their attention. Let me tell you, City, why I think regulation, where self-regulation fails, the government must come in. In fact, let me rephrase that. Even where there's self-regulation, the government still has the responsibility, the primary responsibility, to protect lives, to protect property, and to protect morals and cultures of their people. In a situation like the case of Mackenzie, the numbers grew as everybody watched. To get to a point where we have 6,000 members in a godforsaken, let me withdraw that.
in a remote part of the country.
In a remote part of the country.
Yes.
Seriously, those are serious numbers, 6,000. And they kept growing. In cases where now a government agency like KFCB flags out some of this content and does its own investigation and combines a report and shuts down a station, somebody should have been alarmed, either an assistant chief, a chief. People were watching. And like I told you, where the government must come in, even that sheer number, 6,000, it can be a target for terrorism. Those are many people. In fact, right now, as we speak, City, we are staring at a calamity and tragedy of monumental proportions, probably bigger than the Westgate. Remember yesterday, about 29 bodies, was it 26?
The total number now is 73.
Were discovered, and the search goes on.
Yes.
That yesterday was day 4.
Yep.
This man owns an 800-acre piece of land. He moved into that forest. Nobody bothered to check what was going on. And you can imagine indoctrination and radicalization that has taken 20 years, church that has grown to 6,000 people. And now those people, at some point when he shut the TV and the church and moved to the forest, he told them Jesus is coming. And so let us move there. Given the level of occultism and the level of misleading information and the way these guys seem to have believed in him, we could be staring at a calamity that has never been seen. And that's the question I was asking. Where was the government? You mean nobody was monitoring that? Because I said we were restricted to regulating the broadcast content.
Yeah.
But there are other agencies.
Isn't this the problem?
City, church.
I'm not moving away from
which
this,
church? Which is the church, City? What are you talking about?
Many could
the
argue,
church is the body of Christians.
Right.
Yes.
Who form all these big names that you think of any huge
You're talking
Christian
about
Therein lies
Pastor
the problem.
Mackenzie's rival churches.
No, talking about the body of Christ in general, in terms of the responsibility of ensuring some standards and safety of the operations. And I agree with you. However, when the church moved from the mainstream, we used to have Catholics, the Presbyterians, the Methodists, and so on.
They're called Protestants.
Now, the Protestants, now we moved into an area where you would say this is industry, this is individual business.
Yes.
And when it got there, somebody should have been alarmed.
I know the question that you're asking. Yeah, you keep asking the question that what happened? What did the government do? And I think this is the conundrum that we are in right now.
Exactly.
Because what did the government do? And it doesn't matter who you are. That when you start to tread on the moral, when you start to tread on the religious and the things that affect you, your personality or your character as opposed to the physiological, then everybody, we kind of want to not, and we talked about this yesterday, for fear of calling out any kind of self-damnation, you're not going to want to tread on, it's your religion.
Somebody's church.
It's your religion,
exactly.
And so we're not really going to get it. So when you ask about, it's the thing that is a peril to the individual when they think, there are two people you will not question, your priest and your doctor. So if your priest comes and tells you this is where we're going to go, more than likely you're going to go that way. For the individual as well as these agencies that you're asking about, for something else, they would have jumped on it. If there are mass protests in the streets today, police are everywhere saying, you guys, get to it, get inside.
Yeah.
But here we are. It's a mass killing. It's mass death.
Yeah.
It's no different.
And it not just
but there's silence because of this very same thing. And it's over time.
And that's why I'm saying the primary responsibility lies with the government. And City, I wanted to correct something because the unfortunate thing about stories like what Mackenzie has done and the massacre in Kilifi tend to demonize and generalize the entire church and make it look like every church is rotten, every pastor is bad. Let me tell you, I'm a product of the church, and I know good pastors. I know very professional pastors who care about people, who help people, who have started schools, who deal with the human person wholesomely, and who are very useful in society. And in fact, some of the churches, I believe, do the work of government and should even be supported. So let us not use this one instance, appalling as it is, to demonize the entire church. Actually, my take to what you are saying,
it's not demonizing.
It's about where when you know I'm coming into it. You talked where is the church, and you're asking a fundamental question,
and I'm not moving from it.
I wanted you to explain deeply what do you understand by that.
Yes,
which is the church?
You see, let me put it simply. We talk about self-regulation. We talk about government as though the government is an entity removed from the rest of us. We are the government. We give relevance to the government. When people talk about government, they often refer to government officials, especially the high-ranking ones who say serikali. But many of these serikali types are also Christians or they're religious people.
CT, you're being idealistic.
I am.
It's not an idea.
I'm being philosophical.
Okay.
Now let me leave philosophy and bring it to everyday life.
Yeah.
If from among the Christian flock, they cannot call each other out, they are breaking a cardinal rule of their faith. They are not their brother's keeper. It's not complicated.
And that's the question I was asking. Is the church a sector? Is it a profession? Is it a business? Because I have said, and I'll repeat it, any sector of society that fails to self-regulate invites government regulation.
So maybe
that's how it works.
So maybe CT is saying that at that time when KFCB called out this Good News International TV station, whatever it was, that the church should have actually picked up on that and said, you know what this fella is preaching here, there's a problem. And should have been able to say at that point,
call it out clearly.
As those who regulate morality in society today should have said, hello, what this guy is preaching is wrong. Is that what you're saying, CT?
Not am I saying that. Yeah. I said the same thing with regards to the role that the church, and this one now include other religious organization, has in calling out the government when they are not doing what they are supposed to do or when they are doing things which are wrong. And I said that when the church abrogates its duties, then all sorts of crazy things befall us because that responsibility is actually theirs. Yes, the moral police.
It is churches.
It's the religion.
All right.
The church is the custodian of the moral conscience of society.
Moral. what Pastor Mackenzie may have led these people to do now is on the extreme. All right.
Yes, it's
in terms
extremist.
of choosing, telling you to choose death and actually accelerate your own end of life.
Your own end of life.
But then there are very many other things that we are saying that this is one Mackenzie. It's not like we have seven Mackenzies who are telling people kill yourselves.
We don't
know
more
yet,
than one.
right?
We don't even need a Mackenzie at
When
all.
we say,
is too many.
When
Yes.
we say, regulate, when we say, we need to have custodians of all this and the other, who's this and what are they using? I've got freedom of worship.
Yes, you do.
Right?
Yes.
And I worship as long as I am not leading to someone dying. I'm free to worship.
And
those are the dilemmas that came in.
Church.
Remember, those are the dilemmas that even Professor Gedho Muigai was facing in terms of the pushback.
Exactly.
When he came with the proposal, let's regulate churches, what the churches told him is, look, if you head that direction, my friend, first of all, the Constitution says freedom. And number two, what are you regulating? What is this SI unit that you're going to use? What are you going to use? Catholicism? That is one religion.
Exactly.
Are you going to use Protestant? That's another. Are you going to use Islam? If I want to come up with another one, a new one today, are you going to stop me? When Jesus came up with his different way of looking at worshipping the same God, but in a different way, those that were custodians then of the religion were the ones who actually took him to Pontius Pilate and said, this man, occultism, he was put on the cross.
Yes, he was.
His followers are the ones who led us where we are today, where we are the four of us here are professed Christians.
It's a very important point, Eric, you're bringing up. And this is the politics that come into play when you are taking action as a government official to better society. Because government policies should be rooted in research, deep thinking, discourse like this that involve researchers and academia. And people have committed their lives to just study phenomena and come up with guidelines that would help policymakers improve on their decisions.
I agree.
And I believe that's what Gedho Muigai was doing. But unfortunately, it came towards the elections. And I can tell you, there is no way a law like that will pass. For political expediency, the politicians say this is dangerous because the church has numbers and they can really frustrate and decide to vote this way. And they can push you into presidency, they can push you into becoming a member of parliament or whatever political position. Now, that's the question. When it becomes so individualistic that we don't look at the wider good, that we look at even political expediency and withdraw bills that are meant to serve posterity, is that the way we want to live our lives? Because I saw, and the city, you needed to interrogate this as a researcher, the president spoke very firmly yesterday.
Yes, president speaks very firmly about many things.
He likened Mackenzie's behavior to terrorism.
Yep.
And he said this is akin to terror, sin. There is no difference between Pastor Mackenzie and what a terrorist would do because they're radicalized. And remember, this is something, that's the way we called it in 2018, radicalization. And if you look at the way terrorism works, preying on ignorance and promising things that you can't see, but somebody who purports to have deeper knowledge and understanding of God comes and tells you if you die fighting for this cause, you'll have some 7 virgins in heaven, you'll run away from the problems of this world, and taking advantage of your ignorance, lack of education, and so on, you fall prey into such. And that's why I was saying the best way to save lives and to save our society and our communities and our people is to empower them with information. It's where the media comes in. And I was saying we dropped the ball even ourselves when we started
what information?
Inviting comedians to become.
But
that's why I respect this show because
Dr.
there's a sense in which we have so many.
What information do you think any of these
research?
People, many of the
like
people,
investigative journalism would have saved this.
Many of the people who have
has anybody run an expose?
Hold on. Many of the people who went to this are exposed, fairly exposed. Many of the times when stories, all right?
Yeah.
Remember, John Allan Namu and Jichapevu did a story on churches. NTV has also run stories on churches. Speak to those pastors.
I agree with you, Eric. We are together. I'm a journalist.
When those exposés are aired, the following day, that church is full. The following Sunday, that church is actually full. He gets more people.
Yeah, but
And it
I
says,
wish
because
we
of
had
this
an
exposé thing of yours,
investigative journalist.
You know, you're saying at I'm asking people to send 310 shillings and I offer miracles. People are coming. People are curious. People want to know.
It's
people
true,
want to
Eric.
follow.
It's true,
and
Eric.
what I am doing
why
is
are you
I'm preaching
discounting
the word
this
of the
important
Lord.
point, Eric? That a journalist all these years, somebody should have gone into Shakahola and stick there. This is the journalism that I knew. Eric, you've come from this field. We have been together. I know you. And I tend to think also in terms of resources to support investigative journalism. We are very shallow journalism. I don't want you to run away from that because it is a self-criticism. I'm a journalist.
Self-reflection.
This is where I've been. I did 9 years with the Nation. I've been my work has been within journalism and media. Even what I do, even when I go to the government as director of information and all these things. So I'm not really attacking journalists, and I never. I was actually Secretary General of Kenya Union of Journalists, if you remember.
Yes.
And I did. You remember the first green booklet, Code of Ethics, and the first media council was self-regulating. I did all that. And when now the then Minister for Information, Raphael Tuju, attacked me with it and said, this thing of yours has no legal teeth. You summon journalists. If they don't come, what do you do? I got agencies to support the efforts to come up with a law for the Media Council. And now you can see what Media Council is doing. So these small efforts help. But Eric, and I'm bringing this to you because I know you and your professionalism and we have worked together. A journalist like Jicho Pevu, and I'm so worried that we don't have now that caliber anymore, who can go spend time in the bush and expose this. How come no one, and I don't remember any story, that exposed this in the manner in which now it is happening? Where was the media? Because the media is supposed to invest in investigative journalism, give resources to journalists to do that, so that we don't just jump into what seems easy, just pandering into people's emotions and now this celebrity culture and filling our pages. I'm seeing the jokes that we are making even now. I saw during the Easter just the other day, a very solemn festivity. But what were we doing? Instead of interrogating the faith and questioning these things, we're bringing the jokes of Jesus, of Toderen, or whatever it is, and giving a lot of space and airtime to a non-issue like that during a very solemn festivity that I thought should have been the place to ask the question CT is asking and where we can get answers. Whence does Christian faith go? Is it serving the purpose? Where are we? And use that moment. What were we doing? Shallow journalism. Jesus of Tonderen. We are giving that guy, I have a tremendous respect because he looks like an elder, but that's just a villager who is minding his own business and finding,
he's minding other people's business
and enjoying the publicity you are giving him.
You see now,
and
where do you?
This is where these jokes now end up becoming very serious.
How do you distinguish between that one and the one whose crusades you attended? I'm sure because you were in that motorcade, you passed on the road that had been washed. How do you draw the line? How do you know that Prophet of War is not a villager, blah, 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 but Jesus of Tongaren is a villager?
But why don't we investigate and say there's something funny? Or say this is a true man of God? Because, look, this conversation should not be to incriminate anyone.
It was to raise the
I'm just saying, we have gone into jokes. Eric, we have gone into the jokes of socialites and celebrity culture and the cloud chasing. And some of the things that we give prominence at the expense of investigative journalism on policy development communication really worry me.
Let's go into the news. After this, in the 9 o'clock hour, we'll open up the phone line so we can have a public conversation about this. What is happening to our society? Good morning. Kenya's biggest conversation continues at 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Nizwa Dennis Aseto. Kenya has welcomed further collaboration with the Cuban government to strengthen the primary healthcare system for universal health coverage. The Principal Secretary of Public Health and Professional Standards, Josephine Mburu, met with Cuban Ambassador to Kenya, Juan Rodriguez, to discuss the ongoing cooperation between the two countries in the field of health. The bilateral agreement, which was signed in 2018, aims to enhance cooperation in areas such as the exchange and training of health workers and research. 3 people, including a couple, have been killed in Homa Bay during a rainfall which pounded the county. In the first incident, 34-year-old man and his wife were killed by lightning, while their 2 daughters escaped at Alwar Village, Lambwe East location in Suba North constituency. According to the chief of Lambwe East location, Bernard Ouma, the couple was watching television when the lightning struck, killing them instantly. Ouma said the lightning also broke electric cables from a solar panel on the roof of the house. The couple's 2 daughters, aged 6 and 4 years, escaped the tragedy and were found in the morning sleeping on the chairs. Police are probing an incident where the body of a man was found in his house in Ngando area in the Eldoret South constituency, Nairobi. 27-year-old Aaron Mwenga was last seen Saturday, only to be found dead in his house by his niece, Janet Mora. The Ruta Officer Commanding Station Sarah Kimusar said they are probing the matter. The body of the deceased has been moved to city mortuary ahead of postmortem. Now, National Transport and Safety Authority Director General George Njau has been sent on a 30-day compulsory leave by the board over the rising numbers of road accidents in the country. The board chairperson Aden Nur Ali, who announced a raft of measures to restore safety and sanity on the roads, has appointed Cosmas Ngeso to take over in an acting capacity. The move, the authority, which has been in the spotlight, says is meant to pave way for investigations amid growing concerns. It comes barely a week after the cabinet directed the ministries of transport and the interior to take remedial action and contain rising fatal crashes. At the same time, the licenses of PSV operators involved in the recent accidents this month have been suspended with immediate effect. And police in Meru have arrested a suspected gangster believed to be behind a series of robberies. The suspect, 24-year-old Kenneth Mwingirwa, is linked to several crimes in the region. Tigania East Sub-County Police Commander Emmanuel Kiplagat said the suspect was in possession of an AK-47 rifle, 9 rounds of ammunition and 1 magazine. Police called on members of the public to volunteer information that will help lead to more arrests. Now, Kenyan students studying in Sudan now claim that they have not received any help from the Kenyan government. They have contradicted the information given by Minister of Foreign Affairs Alfred Mutua that the government has already succeeded in evacuating some students, while the first group included 29 students. The students say that their families have been paying for the transportation from Khartoum. They have noted that some of them have already traveled from the area to Juba, South Sudan, as well as from Juba to Kenya. Some of them also traveled yesterday from Khartoum to Ethiopia, where they will join their colleagues who traveled a day ago to that nation, to South Sudan, aboard the plane to return to the country at the expense of their families and not the government.
Wala basi itakuwa tuwajui ni kina nani wamekuja, labda itakuwa ni madiplomat ama ni wafanyikazi, lakini wanafunzi hakuna. Wanafunzi wa kwanza waliofika wa Kenya walipitia njia ya Juba, walifika jana. Already wako majumbani, tuliwa confirm sema wako majumbani kwao. Alafu wengine ndio wamechukua route ya Ethiopia. Jana leo wamelalishwa hoteli jana na leo, na sisi ndio group ya pili ambao sisi ndio group nyingi kwa sababu ile ya kwanza iliondoka 28 hapo, alafu wale walienda Juba ni something 18, alafu sisi ndio tumeondoka kama 45 kitu.
Na Kenya has launched an operation to evacuate its citizens from Sudan due to the ongoing conflict between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, which has now entered its second week. This as the US brokered a 72-hour ceasefire between Sudan's warring generals officially came into effect Tuesday after 10 days of urban combat killed hundreds, wounded thousands, and sparked a mass exodus of foreigners. The Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces agreed to the ceasefire following intense negotiations. This is according to Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, who said that the truce took effect from midnight. Previous bids to pause the conflict failed to take hold, but both sides confirmed they had agreed to the 3-day halt. In a statement on Facebook, the SF said it would also abide by the ceasefire on condition its rivals did so. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, traffic still continues in certain parts of the city, not too crazy. On Jogo Road, heading out towards Landis is where it was really bad, but it's still heavy coming off Limu Road, United Nations Avenue, in from the village market, out then towards the city. That remains heavy. Just at the Pangani underpass coming from the Thika Superhighway, James Gishore is busy. Waiaki Way still tight as you're getting into the CBD. Coming off Mombasa Road and then going towards North Airport Road, looking much better now, and then connecting with Outer Ring. We'll be out of traffic hour in about half hour or so. Shall we see what it looks like then? Yes, let's do it. Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Start thinking about home ownership and taking you to Vipingo in Kilifi County. Dr. Mutua, you've been there. The Vipingo development by Centum Real Estate, right?
Yes. When I grow up, I want to.
You want to be there?
Yeah.
They're telling you, in fact, right now, you can already start working towards your growing up. Just put a 10% for a deposit. You can own from an apartment that goes from as little as 1.98 million shillings. So you put in a 10%, 198,000. And then you start going into that journey of home ownership in the Vipingo development by Centum Real Estate. So those apartments, and of course then there are the bungalows, very, very beautifully done. 500 of them, phase 1, done, finished, handed over to their owners. They're doing now phase 2, and they're saying, come, let us reason together, and we can be neighbors.
Wow.
So all you need to do is call Centum Real Estate today to get more information about this, and also you can text them at 22365. Text the word Vipingo to 22365, and Centum Real Estate will get in touch with you and tell you more about what they're doing in Vipingo. So the conversation continues with Dr. Ezekiel Mutua as we now move into, so what should we do? How did we get where we are, and what should we do? And of course, the conversation in very many places and spaces, including social media, has been, we need to start regulating.
As
religion.
Societies evolve, new dynamics come up. And I gave you an example of journalism. Yeah. When I became Secretary General of KUJ in 2001, there was an outcry. Corporate officials, government officers were being maligned by the gutter press. Some of them called out, exposed, for real, but then it became so lucrative a business by the gutter press that actually innocent people were also being victimized and extorted. What did we do? We sat together and said we need some minimum standards because we cannot all be lumped together with the yellow journalists and with the quacks and charlatans. As responsible people, we said we needed a code of ethics. We needed a media council. We said journalism is a profession. It's not just a trade or craft. And therefore, if we are like lawyers, engineers, accountants, architects, and so on, then we need some standards and some form of regulation. It was not to incriminate anybody or to criminalize the profession of journalism. No, it was to distinguish between the quack and the real professional. And this came with the standards of education. How far should one have gone? What level of education do you need to be called a journalist? And remember the conversation and the dilemma. Is this a talent or is it something that you get from school?
Yeah.
And we're like, it's a mixture of both. journalism is talent, but you
Inborn
need
and acquired.
Exactly, but you need also to go to Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, to the School of Journalism, and so on. So we came up with these standards ourselves as an industry, supported by the media owners and so on. We established the first Media Council of Kenya. The whole idea was for us to self-regulate. But like I told you, the government started also attacking us and politicians, saying, look, if you summon Eric and he doesn't come, where will you go? What will you do? So you need to have legal teeth. And we agreed. We were not afraid of the law, because they were saying, oh, the moment the government comes in. And I said, no, let us not fear. And this is what I want to give also to the churches. Regulation should not be general condemnation or generalization of all the pastors as quacks. They are good pastors, like I said. They are good clergy, and they are people who believe in God and preach the true gospel. Right. And there are others who have structures. I told you about NCCK, the Evangelical Alliance, the Catholics have their own structure, yes, and the Anglicans and so on. So it's not every pastor who is a quack. It's not every pastor who is preying on their faithful. There are some who spend their money and their wealth, and they research, and they're very rich, and they help people to open their minds to the possibilities. We need to get to the issue of regulation of the churches, not by handing over this power to somebody who is going to use it to undermine the constitutional right to believe in God and to choose who to worship and how to worship. So I was saying it must be given to a responsible, grown-up, well-educated, and possibly one of their own. I think the starting point should be to elevate it right now from these many councils that exist into an umbrella body that can set this minimum standard and say, if you want to have Dr. Mutua and do evangelical ministries, what are the minimum standards? So we come and say, I have this theological degree. Or we may not say, because matters of calling, again, you may not have to have a degree, but you should commit at least to certain accountability structures. So we say, this is my partner. She's the one who's going to be handling these elements of the church. She has these qualifications. And we look at the law and we say, yeah, this is okay. And we register. If we just base it on registration with the registrar, who is looking at the basic business elements. You just qualify because you're not going to preach heresy, you're not going to undermine the constitution generally. There are some basics that are the questions that the church used to register that do not venture into the issues or the dynamics that evolve in the society that can be used where people take advantage of others.
And then what?
Once we do that, we are able to call out each other. We can say, Eric, we have this clip. It is you who said this thing on Sunday. It's not in line with our doctrine or the Catholic doctrine, if you're a Catholic, if it's evangelicals and so on. And we're asking you to change this. If one falls, there's a structure to restore them. Because the whole idea should be to make society better, not to criminalize pastors or the church. It should be to ensure that the church plays its role, but within certain rules and regulations. Because I'm saying, where you have 6,000 people believing in one man, you can't just leave them alone. That becomes a recipe for chaos. They can be attacked. They can be misled. All manner of dangers can befall them. Well, you can't just leave them alone. Even here, you have security.
They are members of a church.
What becomes what determines membership?
They are members of a church in terms of they follow the preachings of this particular preacher plus his assistant preachers.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
The people who are captured or who moved from Nyanza and Western and all, it's not like Mackenzie was going to their homes and preaching to them directly. So there was a structure.
They volunteered.
There were evangelists and all. Those people who
were their own volition.
So the people who are there are members of a church. The same way Anglicans, the billions of them are members of the Anglican Church. The Catholics are members of the Catholic Church. Same thing. The people of the Good Hope, whatever, they're members of a church. Okay?
I agree with
now,
Eric.
I was asking, so yes, it's fine. We've said these are the basics, these are the minimums, and the person starts preaching. But then the person starts, saying, I have received a calling. And the word of the Lord has told me that this is what's going on.
The things that God speaks about, he very rarely speaks to just one person.
He'll tell a lot more than
there is a lot more you can corroborate. Now, we talk about callings. When somebody has a calling to be, say, a teacher, do you just teach, or do you follow that calling and pursue a process that will enable you to carry out that calling in a manner that would be excellent? If you're called to be a doctor, do you now start healing people and concocting herbal remedies, or do you pursue a course that will further your knowledge in that particular field? So when somebody has a calling to be a preacher, why then do you lower the standards? Exactly. Why shouldn't that person then go and learn about this faith that they wish to profess and get themselves the knowledge?
But they have learnt about the faith city.
No, it's inadequate knowledge.
They have, let's even say they have gone and they have become doctor, bishop, so and so.
Yes.
They have a PhD in theology.
Yes.
They have understood it.
And they say they have a calling.
Yes, and they have a calling.
Yes.
All right. And then, all those things that we say about, for example, Pentecostals, speaking in tongues, the language of the Holy Spirit and all those things, and being able to prophesy, all these things happen. And they are interpreted from the Bible.
Yes, they are.
Right? So if somebody says, in the understanding and interpretation of the Bible, I was praying and the Holy Spirit got to me and I got a message, and this is the message. How do you start? How do you vet? How do you vet?
Wrong with that, except if, for example, you say that now it's the end of the world and we need to move out of here, get to the forest, and we should not eat. I think now you have gone beyond your purview.
How do you know?
Because you have gone, because now that's where the government comes in, because you are now endangering lives. We know you not survive without eating. And so to the extent that even you are encouraging people to fast, there must be, I say these things must pass scientific and medical muster.
Dr. Mutua, when it started raining.
You see, like McKen said,
on day one, when it started raining.
Yeah.
In fact, this is on year 40, when it started raining. And Noah said, please, 2 of you enter. The rest of you would have said, it's been raining for the past 40 years when you've been conducting deforestation here, cutting our best trees from our forest and doing this thing that you're building here. It's been raining. You're telling us this is the one that is going to kill us.
Now, I don't want us to philosophize.
I'm just saying.
Actually,
if we went back to those times,
he's quoting.
If we went back to those times, you'd have questioned
that Christians base their faith in the written word.
Yeah.
That's what he's basing his discussion on, and he is right. But you
so
see,
when we call out someone like Mackenzie, because he's basing his theology, his teachings on the book of Revelations about the end time.
Yes, but there's a quote that one should remember, that nobody knows the hour or the time, just very simply.
Thank you.
You see, now that is knowledge. Now, in the absence of that knowledge, then you have the sort of problems we're talking about.
And that is knowledge that you then apply in a living situation that we're talking about.
That's a question I wanted to give.
But isn't it? This is the thing that we're saying, Doctor. Even as you're saying that, here we are saying that there is direct harm that is being caused to human beings. And I'm going to bring in the element. Absolutely. And I'm going to bring in the element of children here. Because it would be an assumption, and it could be wrong, that you are asking adults who are established in their thinking. There's a 41-year-old man who picked up his family and said, let's go. So there's no toing and froing in terms of his stability mentally. This guy is established in terms of growth and maturity. But there are children who've been removed from school. There are children who are being forced to starve. This is not fasting. And I think we've used this word these two words interchangeably. And we can't do that. Fasting and starving are two totally different things. Children who still don't have the maturity and clarity of thought are being wrapped up into this thing. And if you want to see where you draw the line, that's where you draw the line.
Thank you.
When you're manipulating people who when you're manipulating people who by law cannot make certain decisions on their own. And then you're now saying that they should go into this. That's where the problem is.
The responsibility of protecting anyone described in the Constitution as a child lies with the government. As a parent, you can't lock your house and say you are going to hack your children to death. the government should break in and save the life.
Like the one we saw in Kitengele yesterday. Before 2 minutes, police were there.
Children belong to the government, to God and to the government. Yes, there's a parental role, but if the parent goes rogue and they want to kill their children, the government has a responsibility to save them. So what we're saying is very critical, that the impressionable minds, the vulnerable in society must be protected by the government. That's why somebody should have even gone into that church, register as a member or whatever the case may be, sit there undercover and unravel and expose this and see the danger.
Dr. You're spot on. You're very, 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 very spot on. But remember, the question that we've been grappling with here is, at what point should red flags be raised? Because we seem to have this idea that because someone claims to be a person of faith and belongs to an institution or an organization you can refer to as one of faith, we then limit the queries, we then limit the questioning of the goings on. And yet the reference point for these faiths that we speak of, there's a manual of operations.
Let me answer from the perspective of Kenya Film Classification Board, our role.
Yes.
Principally to protect, to regulate film and broadcast content, to protect children from exposure to harmful content, and to ensure that broadcast conforms to Kenya's culture, values, and national aspirations. That was a mandate given to us, and it was expected that we will be educated enough, well-versed with the law and the constitution and these freedoms to be able to make a determination. I told you it was not just the case of Mackenzie where we got broadcast that was disturbing. We had 7 others where people were rolling and puking and someone being stepped on, others were being slapped, others were being boxed, literally. Mwanaume anapigwa gumi anaanguka chini. And when I got this material, I called some of these bishops. It's only Bishop Mackenzie. Pastor Mackenzie who became crazy and was not cooperative. The others, they were like, so what is wrong with us, Brother Mutua? I'm one of them. And I told them, doing it in church, particularly where they're not children, the children have gone to Sunday school and we are assuming that they're not part of this drama. Where we spotted children, we first of all called that out and say this child cannot distinguish between good and evil. And they trust you. They are put there, and this is not true. We don't want them to think that you don't go to hospital when you are sick and so on. So we say to the extent that you are making this look like the way of life. I believe in miracles, yes, but I tend to think I have a right to protect this child. And it's true, you can pray for a child and they get healed. So we told them, you'll not air this to the public. And we reasoned. Some of them, the bishops themselves would come to the office. And we reasoned. And then we withdrew those programs. And they started improving. In fact, some of them asked us to train their people and would send them to us. That's what I was telling you. If government really works seriously and government officials understand their mandate, you can save the nation.
But what did they not stop doing? They did not stop.
You see, for Mackenzie, we took him to court because he did not agree with our policies. The others who did, some of them are still running their churches, they are growing, and they are not endangering people's lives. To the extent that...
How do we know they're not
broadcasting? No, we still to the element of broadcast.
They are not broadcasting.
My role was restricted
because
to that.
They did not stop praying for the children. They only stopped broadcasting.
And they shouldn't stop. I'm just saying, there should be somebody who can wait like I did and say this is misleading.
I
told you about the elements that we used to look at, which is obscenity, vile language, violent content of violence in the broadcast and so on. And we'd say like, now, why would somebody be slapped if it's a miracle? Why don't you just pray for them? Because this is violence. Why is it war? Number 2, when you do like this and somebody falls on the hard floor,
surely.
Why? And we would just reason. I tell you, Bishop, this is not right.
Can't you think of
Pastor,
a better way?
This is not right. This person hurt. They are not angels. Alianguka na anaumia. You step on their stomachs. This drama is not good. And we engaged out of the public light because we wanted to help them. You have no idea, Eric, how many bishops agreed with us. And then they said, so how should we do it so that we run our broadcast and become useful to society without endangering or looking like a cult? And we worked with them, even though that was really not our primary objective. The idea was to ensure that churches are also able to get broadcast licenses. They're also able to run TV stations, propagate their faith, but they cannot become propagators of hate, incite masses into violence, and they cannot do harm to children whose minds are not formed and they have no clarity to make choices. So these are conversations that other government agencies must have come in. KFCB could not do it on its own, but I want to laud the Kenya Film Classification Board, because with very limited budget, because when I got there, our annual budget was 88 million. I raised it by the time I was leaving to 650, and how we did it was to show Parliament and the Budget Committee that we need to do more sensitization. That the element of classifying and rating films is the easiest. KFCB needs more money to engage with the publics and the stakeholders and sensitize them about the power of content, particularly when it's coming from these people who are seen as deity, men of God and women of God. To the extent that it can become poisonous, it can mislead, then we need to engage with them and help them to shape up. So I'm wondering, where was the police? Where was the judiciary? Where were the chiefs and the other structures of government? Because that's where the ball was dropped.
I have a call on the line. Dennis calling in from Embu. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Asante sana for calling in.
Yes, now, this case is so... We are in a very sorry state as a state, as a country. We don't know where to run to anymore. I mean, we used to run to church when things got hard. Now, if this is the case now, if little children are going to face this cases of these scenarios in church, it's a very sorry state. And I will advocate we go the Rwanda way.
That is strictly regulating the churches.
Yes, scrap all these churches. Let every pastor, every man of God to have at least a degree in theology to be able to run a church. Yes, because it is very sad. You see, we don't know where to run to anymore now.
Okay.
Yes, even as young people, if this is the kind of scenarios, this. Over 70 people dying, that's a very sad state.
That's indeed. Thank you, Dennis.
Okay.
Thank you for calling. Zachary.
Oh, hi, guys.
Hi, Zachary.
Hi, Zachary.
Oh, my God. Thank you. My hat off to that guy who is speaking. He's very eloquent and he has got point.
This guy, by the way, Zachary, is called Dr. Mutua.
Dr. Mutua, a standing ovation
and his
for
first
you.
name is Ezekiel.
Thank you, Zachary. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you. And we need people like you. Mr. Eric, very quickly, let me say this, because I want the doctor to continue talking, I'm a victim. I've got a sister who is completely immersed in this thing.
Which thing?
The prosperity gospel, the brightness of following these men of God. We are men of God, Let us go the other way. And let me say this. And Dr. Mutua is going to give a voice to whatever I'm going to say. Religion does not take away, should not take away your soul. It should not take away your faith should not take away your reasoning capacity. Many of the even the politicians, they have known that we Kenyans go mad when religion is invoked. And we follow some very, very, very crude guys just because they are studying the religion. How?
Should the government
should be regulated unless the church starts paying tax.
Okay.
Mr. Ewe. Thank you to that guy.
Thank you, Zachary.
Thank
Charles in Nairobi, good morning.
Good morning, team. We appreciate the conversation. Hello. It's not going to be very easy to regulate the church because, one, we do not believe in one faith, all of us. It's not going to be very easy. But before we even shift the blame onto who to place it on, I think we are an ignorant nation. Because we have even people who are saying there at Shakahola, we know these people. They used to shop in our shopping center. But then what happened when they start getting missing? No one thought to question. These people are using mobile phones. What happened when these mobiles, not one, not two, not three, went off at a similar point? This guy was banking at some institution. Did anyone rise up to question the kind of these monies come in this institution? I think we are just ignorant before we start putting blames on who to query. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Martin in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning. Hi, team. Hi, how are you?
Morning.
Very well.
Fine, thank you. Just a quick one. I think it can be a very tough task to regulate the churches because it might go against the tenets of freedom of worship. Even if you start regulating, will we go back as far as regulating the traditional methods of worship?
Yeah.
Because Eric today you can say that this tree is my God and everything, and you have every right for that. So I think the solution here is just for the intelligence to be beefed, like what Mutua said. If we can get our NIS guys to go to these churches, that is the only way maybe we can now curtail this and prevent it. But regulating churches, it can be a bit of a tough task because it is an open book in terms of freedom of worship. Anyone can say anything and they have the right to believe what they're believing. So maybe the intelligence is where it can come in just to prevent child death and every other thing.
Thank you, Martin. Boaz Waruku of Nairobi.
Hello.
Hello, Boaz.
Thank you, Eric. I'm actually listening to this, and I'm wondering what really is happening to our country. I think at the core of it all, and Dr. Mutua has actually highlighted a number of them, is the fact that we are preoccupied with the things that really do not concern the citizen at the moment. We, as a people, I think we have lost actually the bearing. I would be thinking that this is the time that we would have looked very critically at our laws of this country. For one, our constitution is very clear, the Article 8, I think, that talks about state and religion. But you're seeing that even within our leadership, even at the very top level, just the other day, we had leadership at the very top level telling you that they can pray and rain will fall. You know, when we deal with such matters, I think we need to be very sincere. We need to be very honest and actually say that let Kenyans be helped to understand that when we are dealing with matters of this world, let us make that good heaven where we want to go and run to very fast. Let's make it here fast. And let us play by the rules of the human beings on earth. Because indeed, the moment you start seeing people being indoctrinated and being cheated or actually taken advantage of, I think we need to call it out. I would have really wished to hear more about what Dr. Mutua gathered from his dalliance with, he's calling him Mighty Prophet of War, because he attended those crusades. I would have really wished to understand.
We'll ask him that. He'll tell us.
At that particular moment, he actually went there. And I think he didn't just go to be part of the crowd. He must have gone
He was
there
on a
with an
fact-finding mission.
Yes. And did he share what he discovered there? Because he must have seen some scratches being thrown all over that people have been healed. So the moment we refuse and fail to define deceit and call it out, I think we allow the gullible people that we actually encounter every day. Look at there's another. I think there's a video going around about the children. Some of them who are saying going to school is not an act of God, or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if we have reached that level and we have a government in place, but unfortunately the government also that you have in place is a government that also indoctrinates people. That starts by dividing that there are those who go to church and there are those who do not go to church or go to other places. But I think when we must remove ourselves from that kind of a hole. So
Point
I
made.
just want
Thank
to
you,
say,
Boaz.
and let Dr. Ezekiel Mutua also help us get information of what did he do and how did he utilize the information he gathered. Thank you.
Asante sana. 25 minutes to 10. The conversation continues shortly. We want to take a break to take a look at the traffic and the business news. Showmax?
Showmax.com is where you will get sights into the 3 episodes per week that Kenya's latest telenovela will bring to you. It's Second Family airing on Showmax, telling the stories of the Lagats and the first and second family and what happens after his demise. Log on, showmax.com today. Sign up, pay up, and watch.
And Songa Mbele with Kingdom Bank as well. Walk into any Kingdom Bank branch countrywide, or you can call them on 0709 881300. That's 0709 881300. Ask them how you can put money into a fixed deposit account, into a savings account, into a junior savings account, and how you can earn up to 10% interest from as low as 50,000 shillings.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Times are tough. Bei zinapanda, vikapu vinapungua. Sasa tutadu. Ni Naivas Kikapu Kibonge. Pick up key extra offers. Choose from a kibunda of products. Get kibigi discounts. Kwa hivyo, you can beba more of your favorite fresh foods and household products.
Kila kitu ni balance. What like
kitu ni Naivas saves you money.
Cindy, I'm sorry for your loss. Rest assured, your father's will provides for both families.
Both? Wait, what do you mean both families? What's going on?
What would you do if you found out that your life was one big lie? Introducing Second Family, a new Showmax telenovela about a girl whose life is turned upside down after she learns the truth about her father's identity. Subscribe to watch on showmax.com.
Oh my God, look at the curtains. Oh, and the shoes. Wow, my dream fridge. Oh.
What is it? My friend, you don't have money. Let's go.
Yes, yes, yes. I know what to do. The interest on my fixed deposit has matured to Songa Mbele na Kingdom Bank.
What is it about Kingdom Bank? Everyone is surprising me about this Songa Mbele na Kingdom Bank move.
Songa Mbele na Kingdom Bank. Kingdom Bank is now offering mid to long-term fixed saving with higher interest rates. Earn up to 10% interest from as little as 50,000 Kenya shillings on our fixed and call deposits. Enjoy a variety of our great services including savings and junior savings accounts for your kids. Get return on your fixed investments today at Kingdom Bank. Songa Mbele na Kingdom Bank. Shop now for all you want. Talk to us on 0709 881300 for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Kingdom Bank is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
Blood is not always thicker than water.
Start your life here. It's not enough for me. It's just not enough. You don't know what they do to girls like you. I think it's a very unfair.
Two families are at war and family ties get broken.
Sorry, who is your father?
Discover the shocking truth in Second Family.
I had another family. Another wife.
Tune in to Sugar and Spice to find out more about the Second Family, Kenya's first original telenovela, and why you should subscribe to Showmax.
The sun is peeking through those clouds in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 22 and highs of 24 in Nakuru. 23 will be the high in Nyeri and 24 in Eldoret. We'll see highs of 31 in a sunny Mombasa. And the sun is up as well in Malindi, where the highs will go to 31. 27 will be the high in Kisumu and 26 in Kakamega. Cloudy at 19, Google highs of 25 in Kampala and 31 will be the high in a sunny Dar es Salaam. It's 15 and sunny in Johannesburg. We'll see highs of 25 and Lagos will see highs of 33. 32 will be the high in a cloudy Kinshasa at 24. It's 19 and partly sunny going into Tuesday evening in Beijing, going to highs of 20. 12 will be the high in Paris and 11 in London. 11 degrees and mostly clear, still reading Monday night in New York. Coming into Tuesday, highs of 16 and lows of 8.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
You've done well this morning. Traffic is at a low rumble today, or at least right now. Coming off of Jogo Road, it's reduced significantly, but Landis is still being a bit of a headache, at least for now. Getting towards Kamkunji, coming off James Gishore is going to take some time to get out of that, and as well as Ring Road Westlands. Coming in from the Thika Superhighway, however, that has dwindled to a worrisome zero, or worry less rather. And coming off of Limuru Road, we'll also see some traffic there past Village Market out towards the city. Talk to us through the morning. Let's see how it pans out. But Traffic Hour officially over. Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Business News with Spice FM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. The Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency has embarked on developing a common strategy for sustainable exploitation and maximization of the blue economy sector that is poised to be the new frontier for Kenya's economic growth for the export market. KEPROBA's main exporter is to implement export promotion and nation branding initiatives and policies to enhance Kenya's export of goods and services. Safaricom has increased its 5G coverage to 28 towns across 21 counties, allowing its customers to enjoy ultra-fast internet services. The telco has also introduced 5G data bundles to enable its over 400,000 customers using 5G smartphones to browse at ultra-fast speeds, with typical speeds of 400 Mbps to 700 Mbps. The 5G bundles are personalized based on usage and are available on Tunukiwa via My Safaricom app, safaricom.com and USSD codes. Giant retailer Naivas has announced that it has been a victim of a ransomware attack by an online criminal organization. In a statement, the company's chief executive officer, Willie Kimani, indicated that the company is seized of the matter and that their systems are back on track, secure and operational. Medicine Sans Frontiers is looking for an applications and development specialist with a degree in computer science or information systems with at least 5 years of experience in software application development. Suitable candidates are required to send their CVs and cover letter by 30th of April 2023. Visit jobs.digger.co.ke for more information on these and other jobs. Digger Jobs, your credible and trusted jobs partner.
Spice FM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
17 minutes. Calls and hear what you think about this. We're asking ourselves, so how do we stop the recurrence of what we've seen? Basically this, if you look at the number of people who died in Westgate, the number of people who died in Dusit, combined, this is more. The number of bodies that have so far been exhumed.
And it's not over yet.
And it's not done. So it's basically that. It's horrible.
You know when you see this, what now makes us take notice is the deaths. But the actual harm was in how these people's minds were turned. Because in the absence of that, they wouldn't have ended here. But talk about what people do in God's name and the actual damage. Let's leave death as a discussion aside and look at just the damage to the minds of people who follow certain religious leaders and the harm it does to them, their families, whatever structure they had. These stories aren't highlighted, but there are very many. Very, very many. You see, regulation, this is a culmination that we haven't seen, and it's shocking us, but we tend to recover from these shocks quickly. And the other people who, again, in God's name, are causing serious damage to families, serious damage to individuals, these aren't highlighted.
Isn't that a terribly scary thing, CT? And I'm going to go back to this issue of children. That we can see, do you know how difficult it is to die from starvation? Do you know it's very hard to die from starvation? Your body goes into shock. You go through pain untold. Now, this is happening to children. And I worry for a society that if what you're saying is true, we'll think about the death of a child that happened in that manner and be able to forget it after a beat. To forget it.
It
didn't matter. I can't reconcile with that.
In the US, if you remember the speech by Martin Luther King, he says we are here to dramatize a shameful situation. And I think this is what we need to get into. That's why I was saying it should annoy us and annoy a lot of people that the government has failed. And I said this is a failure of leadership at so many levels, including the family, our education system, business. We have reached a point where, Eric, good does not pay, where appointments are given to people of questionable character. And we can see where your neighbor here is getting rich and richer and richer. And you know they're not more hardworking than you, they're not more qualified than you, and it looks okay. People do funny things. We know some of them who are involved in shady businesses, and they prosper and they're okay, and they're friends to the who is who.
And we elect them.
And we elect them. And in fact, we have even been conditioned to believe that you're decent like CT, like Eric, like Dr. Mutua or my sister here. You don't go into politics. It's dirty. It's for the people who can utter the most vulgar things. We compete at the level of obscenity, vulgarity, and that's how you get elected. You must be controversial. And it was also introduced into the manner in which we shape news values, because we were taught that when a dog bites a man, it's not news. But when a man bites a dog, and that dramatizes the controversial, unusual, extraordinary, bizarre stuff that makes news. And that's why I'm saying it's a failure, a societal failure. When I used to speak about moral values and you guys called me the moral cop,
assistant,
and Deputy Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I told you so, but I'm tempted to tell you.
No, but you did.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I did my job with passion and vigor and rigor, and I was not a quack. I remember this story that got into Trevor Noah. There was some journalist, a friend of mine from a media house, calls me, and off the cuff, without even professionalism or telling me, I'm interviewing you, I'm recording you. We get into a conversation, and I end up trading for 3 weeks about some gay lions in the Mara. Yeah. And it was a choreographed agenda to paint me as homophobic, zealot, idiotic government official who is not even good to serve anywhere. And yet I've gone to school. In fact, not abroad. I have gotten all my degrees here. My undergraduate in Kenyatta University, my master's in the University of Nairobi, my PhD from Moi University. And the media took it on me. I was done cartoons here by Gando that would terrify me. And when I look at it now, I say, I am glad I endured all that. And how many people can endure? Because I would go home sometimes and my children would be worried. Dad, are you okay? Because they saw the story. Page 1. Item number 1 on TV. And the only crime I did was to raise my voice and say, morals matter. There's no substitute for morality and for discipline. We must get to a level where if, Eric, you are hardworking, you love people, you do your job well, even if you're a shopkeeper in the market or a primary school teacher or a village elder, but you're a good man, you are disciplined, you don't commit crime, you are celebrated by society. Because that's how I grew up. I was the head boy of Ikumini Primary School. I don't even know why they chose me. But I was also number 1 in that school. And even when I did my CPE, I left a record that is still there.
So you know why they chose
I grew up as a school captain, CU chairman. Yeah. In fact, in my A-levels, I was the CU chairman and the school captain of Tala High School. Such elevated position in 1988 that I was even given an office. The school was worried. And it was a Catholic school. I was so radical an evangelist. But they said, we need this guy. Why? Hard work, discipline, good values were celebrated. That's how I grew up. Right now, it doesn't matter. You can preach morals, think it will get you anywhere. What are we telling our children? A survey was done by the East African Media Institute, I think through the Aga Khan University in 2018. And it was targeting youths below 35. And they asked the question, would you vote a corrupt person? And they said, yes, if he bribes me. Do you support corruption? And they said, yeah, if I can get involved, if it is
I get a chance.
If I get a chance and I'm going to make ends meet.
It's the opportunity that's
the hopelessness among our youth. Because when we grew up, Eric, you remember, because I tend to think we are age mates, give or take.
Somewhere.
We grew up in a society
we are
that
below
celebrated hard values.
Definitely.
I mean hard work and values. Yeah. We grew up in a society that celebrated if you do something good, you are a darling of the school, the darling of the society. If you're a good footballer and you're scoring for them, you'd be cheered and carried, showed high. And that gave us inspiration to do more good, to work harder. I tend to think the only way I survived at KFCB, even though, of course, you know, that even the way I was removed, police were sent, locked the office, and I never stepped there. No process, no nothing, because I stood against LGBTQ. Now it's a huge debate. And I was saying, it is the law. We went to court with the Kenya breweries. I'm not actually the one who took them to court. It is them who took me to court. And I went and prosecuted the matter and they won. The film Rafiki. Yeah. I am saying, I don't want to say I told you so, but there's a sense in which we should be enraged by the things that are happening. And we should also ask how many other Mutuas, how many other city, Munga and Eric and so on, who have been raising their voice and creating a platform that is not showbiz. You're discussing issues, development, communication, but you may not have as much rating as some guys who are discussing sex in the morning and vulgar, stuff and drama. And this is where we need to reflect.
This is where we need to head
on what we are doing.
Let me pick these two callers. We have two callers on the line. James in Nairobi, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. Morning, City. Morning, Madam Do.
Good morning.
Yes, I know Dr. Mutua doesn't want to say he told us so, but like City said, he did tell us so.
Yeah,
and we should be proud for that, because I think he's the happiest man in Kenya, because there's nothing as good as being validated and vindicated. Because we blame this. Now, who is to blame? Personally, I think everybody is to blame. You, I. It's very easy to say the government. But the government also is you and I. There must have been someone who saw something, who refused to say, and which is our society these days. We tend to look the other way if it doesn't affect me. But this affects you. This is something that affects each and all of us, because today it may be Shakahola, tomorrow it will be Odaya or Mwingi, for that matter. Because we have come to a place, and I think Dr. Mutua has said it, where everything has now become the norm. We don't care about what the next person thinks. And we are now seeming to espouse a very high level of individualisticness, that I really don't care what the person next to me is feeling, so long as I am good and so long as it feels for me. But also, let's remember, all these people who are screaming and shouting freedom of religion, there's no freedom, constitutional or otherwise, that is an absolute freedom. Every freedom has a liability and a duty. Fine, you can have a religion. Today, I cannot start saying that I am going to blame, that V8 is my God. So it is becoming God in Kenya almost. So God, it's small g. Right? You cannot, they are this. And I was involved in that attempt by Professor Gidu Muigai. And we told them so. Exactly, we have exactly landed where
you are.
Would be.
When you were,
what do we do?
When you're involved in the process of drafting it, what was the thinking? I mean, how would we get to actually regulate religion?
First, we are not regulating religion. Let's also be clear. We are regulating the registration of all these mushrooming churches, which are nothing but kiosks. Right? It was going about registration. How many churches are there in Kenya? Over 45,000 of them. Each of them with has to look for a so-called doctrine. Mine is 310, yours will be 317, ours will be, because we are competing. It is a marketplace. Let us call it a spade. Let's call a spade a spade. Christianity is a marketplace, and I think it was high time that we start looking at this, because we are now looking at the registration. Then you come up with your doctrine, and then if you're a church follower, if you're a church leader, there must be some theology that you went, some school of theology that you went to espouse some moral aptitude when it comes to looking at the Bible and all these Christianity things. They harangued us so badly and saying that we are going against them, we are devil worshippers. Some of them, I can't say, it's too early in the morning to say some of the things they were telling us. Bishops were telling us.
Wow.
Right? But it is high time that we start looking at the entire thing. I'm seeing today a clip of someone. How do you, as an individual, stand up in front of people and tell them to wave your phone and M-Pesa messages are going to come? I mean, right?
Faith.
Right? Yeah. How? But in as much as I blame those people, I also blame the followers. Right? I think it is a level of hopelessness and despondency that you have reached, that any person who gives you any glimmer of hope, you fall for them. But not realizing that you're actually building them as you're killing yourself.
That's true. James, thank you.
It is very sad that these days, that today, among the richest people in Kenya are the so-called church.
Yeah.
So-called. And I'm not talking about my PCA church. Right? I'm talking
Although
about
it's also very rich.
It is a very rich church because it has been there since young. But I'm talking about these other kiosks. Because let us call them, they are kiosks.
Sawa, James,
they are
thank
not
you.
Even shops.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Asante. Let's hear from Papa as we conclude. Papa, good morning.
Good morning, my friend.
Morning to you.
Morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning to me. Today I'm in Mall. It's very cold, but we are happy. We are alive. One thing, I want to talk about two things. One thing is about people being lied to, that if you do this, you're going to meet Jesus and the rest. The last day, even Jesus himself doesn't know. It is in the Bible. You can read it. In Matthew 24, verse 36. It clearly says that the last day is only God who knows. Even the Son doesn't know. So why should people lie to us that if you do this, you're going to have to do this, or do this of Jesus of Tongarens, who of Pungomas, what those kind of nonsense, or what have you. Number two, I'm talking about maybe Ezekiel Mutua before he lived. If they have a way of also regulating churches in a manner, and this is happening with these so-called kiosk churches that the caller has just said. These few churches that someone opens up, like now Papa and the wife, the wife is the pastoress, I'm the pastor, she is the treasurer, and the rest of this kind of nonsense. The noises they make, because you cannot find Catholic or PCA or AIC mounting big speakers out there and making noise in the whole village. People cannot sleep in the estate, wherever, in near schools. You see, this kind of nonsense. Is there a way these people can be regulated in a way that now let us be morally upright? For one. Yes, Asante.
Thank you, Papa. As we conclude, Dr. Mutua.
This situation is not just a religious issue. It's a societal problem. The breakdown of our moral fiber, the failure by parents to bring up their children. Some of them, because they don't have the time that we used to have, our parents used to have when we were growing up. You were waking up so early to come and be in the situation room. Probably you are late doing something. Parents are busy trying to eke out a living. And so there's a sense in which the societal structures are broken down, and our children have been left to the Sunday school teacher and to the teachers in school. And I tend to think we got to take now these issues more seriously, particularly where misleading information through the different platforms comes in, and our parents need to monitor what their children are watching and pay more attention. But there is need for us to begin to celebrate good work and good people and encourage them. Even the police, not every policeman is corrupt. I normally stand sometimes on the road, call the police officers and give them lunch. And I told them, I'm so and so. This is not a bribe. I've seen what you're doing and I really appreciate it. Good work. Let us begin to celebrate people. Let me finish with this one. I come from Wala, and we started community policing because we had a problem where police were fighting with the border borders. And the other day, I was receiving the new OCPD and DCIO. And somebody asked me, what the hell do you have to do with DCIO of your place in Wala? And I said, everything. My community educated me. I'm going back to get involved in sorting out security issues.
Security now.
I think professionals who are living in the city must get involved
with development in the areas, because like now what we are doing in Mwala has brought the community and the police together, and the people are able to give police information about crimes that are happening in their homes.
Asante. Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, current CEO of the Music Copyright Society of Kenya, former CEO of the Kenya Film Classification Board, has been our guest. Thank you for tuning in. Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues.